Going to be a good interview. Thanks again for joining, and really appreciate everyone here now that we got past the technical difficulties of you not hearing me. Again, thank you for joining us on Friday and being part of the best damn social club in the universe. My guest, Eric Menkhus, is going to chat today, and let's introduce you. Eric, how are you, my man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am just happy to be here. I keep tasting my drink. Cheers. Happy Friday to you. What are you drinking, my man?
I've got Costco gin and tonic, or a diet tonic,
gin
actually.
Is good, actually.
It's got to be Bombay Sapphire, man. It's the same bottle, except it's green instead of blue. It's got to be.
Exactly. So that's it, you know, and I think that's what they're probably doing. It's probably Grey Goose, which is the vodka. So, yeah, I got, actually, for me, hold on. I have mine. I got a bottle called Hanson out of Sonoma County. You can see that. It is organic. Obviously, California wouldn't do any other way. But I saw this at Total Wine, and I figured it's by organic grapes, so they're keeping with the theme of wine country. So I figured I would go ahead and go with that one. Just a nice tonic. What kind of tonic water did you use, by the way?
And I'm pretty cheap. I bought like the Kroger. We have Fry's here. Fry's diet tonic. It's nothing special.
That's fair. I mean, I'm envious because I have to, because I have to watch my blood pressure. So I actually had to do the Fever Tree, because all the other stuff had really like high sodium. So my blood pressure would be a mess. So the joys of getting old. So thanks again for joining. Again, everyone that is in the chat, thanks again for being part of the show. Make sure you say hello in the chat. I'm going to be giving a gift certificate to Cactus Sports. So just make sure you say hi in the chat, and what I'll do is I'll gather all your names, and we will do a Wheel of Fortune type of spin and see who wins that one. So make sure you say hello in the chat. So how is it today, by the way? I knew it was hot as hell a few days ago. I mean, hell is, summer, but I mean, has it been crazy hot lately?
It's cooled off the last few days. It actually hasn't been too bad. We're starting to get a little bit into the more humid scenario. The last day was super hot. It was actually really cloudy as well, so it was gross. But the last couple of days haven't been too bad.
That's good. So now, fortunately for you, you have air conditioning, I would imagine.
I'm not that cheap. I mean, I buy Costco liquor and grocery store tonic, but I do have air conditioning.
See, well, I'm not trying to sell out my dad, because my dad still has a swamp cooler. He doesn't have AC, so that's why I ask. So
I'm not sure in Phoenix. Your dad's down in Tucson, right?
He is. So maybe that's it.
Cools off a little bit more down there. Like, I wake up in the morning and it's already 89 degrees. So
that's wild. I mean, I think that the news was celebrating that you guys didn't you didn't go below 90 for whatever reason that was. So, but someone corrected me. It seems like that's going to be the trend from now on. It's going to be 90s at night for the foreseeable future, whenever else that happens.
Yep, that's right.
Excellent. So, I didn't know. So when I met you virtually, I didn't know you were a professor at ASU Law, which was actually very cool. So, you are an alum. How many times have you graduated from ASU?
3 times.
3 times. Got it. I remember that. And so now, how long is your tenure? How long have you been teaching at ASU?
14 years. So actually,
wow.
15 years. Okay. So I'm in my 16th year now.
Right on. So then what was the first class how did that work, I guess? How did it start?
So I started, basically, I went to law school never wanting to be a real lawyer. Like, I never really thought I would take the bar or anything.
Okay.
But when I was getting ready to graduate, I didn't want to go back and work for corporate America. That's why I left corporate America to go to law school. So I just emailed the dean on my spring break and said, hey, I have 3 degrees. I'm about to have a law degree, an MBA, and an engineering degree, and then I could work cheap. Hire me. And so they hired me to help manage a program, and then I did a good job with that. And we got a national conference, and they put me as a visiting faculty member.
Very nice.
And then they were worried about me getting hired away, and so they made me a clinical faculty member. So that's where I'm at right now. It's kind of like tenure track, not quite.
And are you on main campus, or are you on downtown? I don't remember.
Yeah, the law school built a new building downtown. We've been downtown since 2015 or 16.
Okay, got it. And there was a quick technical glitch. It wasn't anything you had to go ahead, and I kind of just saw everything kind of blink on my side, and then I had to re-quick. So thank you everyone for that patience on there. So then, how many classes are you teaching, or you like? Is it something you have to teach purely teaching, or are you doing research, or how does that work for you?
Sure. So currently, I'm Associate Dean of New Education Initiatives, which means I have full teaching relief. But I do teach, I run our online program. We have an online 30 credit master's degree
Mm-hmm.
called the Master of Legal Studies. And I run that for the college. And so I teach in the program so that I can kind of keep a finger on the pulse. I hear what the students are talking about,
Okay.
see how my students are reacting to different things I do in my course, and I can kind of extrapolate that out to the rest of the courses. We offer somewhere between 60 and 70 all online only courses for
Wow.
our students. So
Right on.
yeah, it's grown. It's been a big success for
That's
us.
massive. And so, are you getting a lot of Starbucks employees as part of that?
So we're starting to get some masters Starbucks employees. So for a long time it was only at the undergraduate level, but now they've
Okay.
extended it to graduate level as well. So we're starting to get some of that. We get a lot of people in human resources, people doing intellectual property, entrepreneurship, basically anything you could think of where you don't want to be a lawyer, but some legal training or legal education can help you, and that's what the degree is all about.
Interesting. And then, so I think, and what you were sharing before, is there a focus that you have? Like, is there a set of classes you're focused on, or is it you're just doing all of those?
So I teach a few different classes. I teach business organizations. I teach intellectual property. I've taught there's a course called integrating legal principles and business practice that I teach. So I do mostly business law, but we also offer a lot of compliance. We offer criminal law. We offer lots of different things. So basically, if you have an interest in the law, we probably offer courses in the area you're interested in.
Excellent. So let me do something real quick. I'm not exactly sure what happened here to the stream. Let me see if it's still, I can still see it, but I don't know if it's updating for me. I can see it on the side. It's moving along. It is moving along. So I guess we can go ahead and see what's going on, but that's all right. So now, how has it been these past few semesters, right? How is actually given this latest, how was this last semester, come March? Like, what was that like for you guys?
Total chaos. I mean, if there are any colleges on campuses that don't do online education, it's law schools. And so then for COVID to hit and over spring break, we tell all of our professors, a few of which don't really even use emails.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, you're going to be teaching on Zoom, and that was chaotic. But I will say, our professors have done great. Our IT department has really come through, and it went as smooth as could be expected. Now, in the
Right.
summer, people had a little time to plan for it, and we're supposed to be face to face with online option
Mm-hmm.
in the fall. So it won't be as different because the professors will be in the classroom and with students in the classroom. There'll just be fewer students. We'll probably end up having to cohort some of our classes
Oh,
where
interesting.
you're cohort A, your cohort B, cohort A comes Mondays, cohort B comes Wednesdays, that
Right.
type of stuff. And then there will be people who always want to work online, and there'll be other people that demand to be in the classroom all the time.
Exactly. No, that's very interesting too, because I know that that was something that, in a way, one of the companies here in the Bay Area, um, they actually did 4 shifts, right? It was actually, you got week A, B, C, and D. So it was that was your week. And then they moved to, okay, now we're doing A and B for 2 weeks and C and D for 2 weeks. So that's kind of the focus. I don't know how soon they'll be able to go ahead and have it all at once. Depending on how trends are going, right? We shall see. But how is how's it planning for the next semester? Again, I just heard that our school district is doing complete virtual for the first semester, right? I've heard other districts that they're reevaluating after 6 weeks. What's the latest for ASU's fully remote?
No, we're going to have in person with online options. So
Okay.
basically, you're going to teach in person, but you're also going to need to teach in a manner where students can be at home and watch via Zoom if they choose to.
Okay.
And some students will be in the classroom some days and at home some days. Some will always be at home. Some will uh, need to be in the classroom all the time. So this is a very unique situation. And then of course, Arizona's leading the world in COVID, as we've seen a bunch of.
Right.
I think Florida has luckily taken that mantle from us, so we're not in the news as much anymore. But so things can change. I mean, we're planning on that, but if people can't put on a mask and stay home and social distance, then who knows?
Exactly. And that's part of the things as well, because I think I remember seeing that announcement that you had to be fully masked full on campus the entire time.
Yeah, I put the mask on when I pull up into the parking garage, and then I wear it to my office. You have to have your door closed if you want your mask off in your office. And then anytime I leave my office, I wear it. But right now, I mean, if I'm in the building, we've got a big building, and there's maybe 10 of us in the building.
Okay.
All staff can work from home still, so it's not a busy place.
Got it. Now, when did you start working from home? Did they let you work from home at all, or are you already doing that?
So all courses moved online mid-March.
Okay.
And then staff was still working, but no students were there until right around the end of March. And then since the end of March, we've been all remote.
Wow. Okay. And then were there summer classes as well that you still had to take that you had to teach?
Yeah, so I'm teaching only online, so that's easy. I'm in our online program. It doesn't really, other than the students needing accommodations because their kids, the parent gets COVID, they got to take you, so you got to help with due dates and things like that.
Got it.
But the online education hasn't changed that much. But yes, our courses that were planned in person had to move to Zoom, and they've been 100% Zoom. We announced that, I think, late April. So the professors had a little bit of time to get ready.
Got it. And so have you had a lot of colleagues come into you saying, help me?
A few. I know we built a whole online programs office, and so they're definitely going there. When we built the building, we built a studio, like a recording studio, green screen studio. So so professors can go in there and record their lectures if they want to. Some are recording from Zoom at home, and others actually go into a classroom because that's where they're used to it, and they do the lecture. Nobody's in there with them, but they do the lecture in the classroom because it's comfortable for them, and they record it that way.
Oh, that's interesting. So then they have the whole camera and setup and everything else. They just go ahead and do whatever they need to that way.
Yep.
Okay.
And we actually started, so when it all announced that everybody's going back, a lot of our professors needed the first few sessions to be in the classroom on Zoom, so our IT people could help them figure it out, and then everybody switched to home after 3 or 4 sessions of their class.
Got it. And so did you have any students that were just absolutely, not wanting to be out of the classroom? Like, it's like, I don't like remote learning, I want to be in the classroom. Was there any push for that?
Yeah, of course. Okay. I mean, we've all seen that there's something on every side. I mean, if you were not doing fully on campus and everybody there, then I want my money back. And the other side of it is, if you let anybody in your building, you have blood on your hands. So I mean, it's kind of in between everything, and we see that in our students, and we even have some faculty on those sides as well.
Got it. Okay. And now, have there been any departments that cannot be remote, or was it just ASU was like everyone has to be remote, figure it out?
There were a few that weren't able to go remote, although what they did was kind of what you talked about, where these people are here on these days and the other people are there on the others days, so you could do remote, but they had to staff. So like for example, our cleaning crew has been there every day. They've been cleaning every day. I'm sure for a while they were like the only people in the building. Our dean still goes in regularly. Our IT staff is in occasionally because our servers and things are in the building.
Okay.
So there are some critical people that need to be there, but for the most part, like I said, it's a ghost town when I go in there.
That's wild. And how many times have you been on campus since the lockdown then?
I've been trying to go in a couple times a week. So I go in like Mondays and Thursdays. And then I told you that one of our family members had a COVID scare. So I just went in this week for the first time in a couple weeks because of my wife was quarantining. So I was on dad duty.
Got it. Exactly. I know how that is. We almost had that scare as well. I know you actually had to quarantine, but Mrs. Judd ASU, we thought she was COVID. The doctor, because she went in for an infection, she just had surgery, and so the doctor was like, yeah, you have it. And so we were waiting for the results. It was a nerve-wracking 1 hour.
It is.
And so did your wife get tested And it did come back positive, or you just quarantined no matter what?
So when the family member got tested, we quarantined.
Okay.
And so Mary didn't get tested, but we were waiting for that because they were negative, no big deal.
Right.
But it took 14 days. It was crazy. So anyway, it was just a wild scenario.
And that still seems to be the case now.
Yeah, here it is. Now they say they're going to fix, they being Governor Ducey and Dr. Christ, who leads the Department of Health. They say that that's going to be changing, that it's going to be going a lot faster. But basically what's happening, ASU has developed a saliva-based test, and I can get tested every week if I want to. So I'm basically the proxy for our family. The theory is it would be really hard for somebody in this house to have it and the rest of us not. So I go once a week, and I should because I'm going into the building anyway.
Right.
So I go once a week, get tested. They turn it around in about 36 hours. So I was actually
That's brilliant.
tested this morning. You drive into lot 59, you get your little straw and your little thing that you put your saliva in, and you sit in your car and you spit into the straw until you've put enough in there, and then you turn it in and drive off.
Wow,
so it's
that's
real easy.
Cool. That's
brilliant.
It's real easy. See, that's outstanding too. So I've had the up the nose twice. And so no, Denise, Mrs. Jet ASU's had it 4 times. Oof. And so it's not the best. I mean, we're lucky enough to get results back in 36 hours. But like you said, it's still a matter of going through that. And it's not, I mean, my Padawan 1, she absolutely hates the idea of having to do it again, but she works at a daycare. So if anything goes ahead and happens again, right, we're all going to have to get tested and quarantine, or who knows what else. So had a question out in the chat. How much of an issue was inadequate internet or technology at home? Possibly for faculty and staff, right? Because again, maybe it's just a matter of you guys getting it from IT, but similar to what we're seeing with our school district, especially for students. Did you see that? Was it an issue that you had to help some students out with hardware, whatever it was, in order for them to stay in class?
Yeah, some students and some staff. ASU actually did a really good job of getting some hotspots that run on the wireless networks. Yep. And so we were able to provide those to our students that needed them. And we bought time we did allow a few students, if they really needed to come into the office and to come into the building and sit in the study room. And use our Wi-Fi in the building, but they had to get the temperature check and all of that, and then we had to escort them to the room and put them in the room, and then if they needed to go to the bathroom, they had to call us and escort them. And we just, it's just one of those things. We were very, very careful because at that time the staff was still in the office. And so, there were more people there, and it just hit, and we had no idea what we were doing or what it was. I mean, when you think back 4 months, it seems crazy, but we didn't know anything, right? Like This is just something that is like, wow, what is going on? We went from, like, my wife was at Disneyland when all of that was going on. So my wife was at Disneyland the last day they were open. It went from early that week, like no big deal, to then Wednesday, like, they just pulled ASU off the court and they're not playing basketball, to Saturday Disneyland was done.
That was like the 15th of March or something then. Oh, my goodness. I remember. Yeah, because I remember that whole, because what I was doing is that I remember watching the Twitter feeds, and LA County, the Unified, said, we're not sending kids to school on Friday. I mean, by Wednesday, I was already telling the Padawans, hey, if anything goes sideways, you're not going to school Friday. And so when LA County schools on Thursday said, yeah, you're not, then that's when I'm like, you're not going to school on Friday. And then our school district actually said, okay, don't come to school on Friday. And then, so that's wild. That must have been, and they didn't rush her out of Disneyland or anything else. It just happened to be that last day.
Yeah. So my wife and my sister and our kids were there, and they said that Friday was actually empty. It was like one of the best days ever at the park because there was nobody there.
Right.
So they did their thing, and luckily we dodged it. I mean, we were stupid. We didn't know. We didn't know what was going on.
I mean, there was some indicators, but yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, on Wednesday when they decided, like, college basketball's done, we're not doing that. It was like, oh, that's what this is.
Exactly.
And so, it was pretty wild, especially because if I don't know if you've met my kids. I can't remember.
Absolutely.
My youngest,
I met the boys. Absolutely.
My youngest will like lick handrails and all kinds of stuff. It's just like, Yeah, so that somehow we dodged the Rona. And I'm not sure how.
Exactly. He sounds like, something that has he met Ralph Amsden's kids, right? Because they always
Don't
able to
think
do
so.
something too. So yeah, it's always funny to be able to see, some of his stories as well. And yeah, Justin, you are correct. Wednesday, March 11th, right? 3/11 is actually going to be quite the day to look back on as to how everything really just started cascading, not necessarily collapsing, but it just started cascading one after the other because no one knew. I mean, I don't know when did you guys we've talked about this as well, because I remember when they did shelter in place, it was like maybe 2-3 weeks before you guys, it probably
Right.
wasn't until April 1st or so, or maybe even.
Yeah, I think Ducey's, and he didn't call it shelter in place. He's got all these catchphrases he uses, but it's better at home or safer at home
Right.
or stay. It was like home but connected or something. I don't remember what it was, but
Right.
home healthy connected. That was, I think, March 30th.
Okay, got it.
So I mean, and even then, it was a mere recommendation,
Right.
but it did work. I mean, some people were still out, but it wasn't the craziness that was Memorial Day weekend.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Well,
Memorial Day
everyone was
weekend was
chomping the bit
like
to get out.
everybody emerging from their houses, and especially young people. Like,
Yeah,
I haven't made out with anyone at a bar in like 2 months. I'm going to go do that.
exactly. No, it's like I'm tired of drinking alone or whatever it
Right.
was. Exactly, absolutely. And that was because I remember, I guess it was that Thursday. I actually went and spent like $400 or $500 on groceries because I made sure I was stocked because we never paid attention to the whole toilet paper thing. We're
Right.
just like, okay, whatever. But then when everything started, when the dominoes started falling, I'm like, I need to go get some food because I don't know when I'm going to leave again. And
Yep.
so it was just, okay, everything's in here. We didn't, and I don't think we left the house. And I take that back. I did leave the house at least once a day, and it was always go to the grocery store. And I always felt weird. We had gloves on. I had gloves on, and I had a mask on, but it just felt unusual to leave the house at that moment in time. So anyway, I wish I had journaled a lot of stuff. I'm very good about journaling some stuff like that, and I didn't journal the events from that, and I'm kind of disappointed in myself. But as long as we got everyone else's feedback, well, then I guess we can always read it via tweets, right? Just look at it
Right.
a day at a time and
That's all
see.
right. We all journal unintentionally by tweeting and Facebook and all that, right?
Exactly, it's all that, and that's the other thing. And we don't talk too much about Facebook, but I'm pretty heavily off Facebook, so I haven't seen a lot of stuff going on there. I always kind of see via Twitter, but it's always entertaining to kind of get through all that. So shout out to Paul Hornstein, Justin for ASU, and Bo Toner for being part of the conversation. I'm writing your names down because you were awesome enough to engage in conversation. So if you please, the three of you, send me an email, jedaasu@gmail.com. I have a $5 gift certificate to Cactus Sports, so really appreciate you doing that. Again, as I had mentioned before, that is our first giveaway. We'll give another one at the top of the hour, so again, please make sure you are engaged in the chat, that you're able to share that information, that you're asking questions, saying hello or anything else. So again, I know there's a number of people watching, so we definitely we love those questions and like to catch up that way as well. So doing okay on the drink. I absolutely adore your cup, by the way. I'm looking for a rocks glass. I'm trying to look for a good looking rocks glass, but I like your cup that you have as well.
You should swing a couple of those $5 gift cards and see what Troy's got for you from Cactus Sports. They probably do have rocks glasses there, I'd guess. They got just about everything.
Ask him, yeah, because I mean, it was actually pretty good what he's been able to do and get feedback from and so forth. So I'm glad that he's able to be. He's been busy. Actually, he shared that with me. He's been real busy with a lot of people placing orders and everything else. I don't know if the masks have come in yet, so that I'm going to have to ask him. I haven't called him in a week or so, so I'll figure it out. How you doing on your drink, by the way? I'm drinking a little faster than I should be.
I thought that was the point. I'm doing okay. My glass, my cup's a little bit bigger than yours.
Yeah, I know. I decided to go fancy. I have this. This is a a whiskey glass, so you're supposed to chill the little steel ball, and then you can go ahead and just roll it around. But I'm doing vodka tonic without any ice because, I'm trying to be fancy, I guess is what it is. But anyway, so I wanted to thank you again. I know Mustache Nation had retweeted the video, the link out there, so I'm always grateful for them. But I wanted to thank you again for always allowing me to be part of the tailgates. Because who were you with originally? Who was the first tailgate group you were with?
So that was a group called the Devil's Crew.
Thank you.
And those were just a bunch of guys that we would get there early over by the towers.
Yep.
And joined up with those guys, and that was great. That was good, but it kind of disintegrated. One of the guys bought a bus, and that would have been cool, but they wanted to cater, and I kind of like cooking sometimes and all that. So we ended up we would hang out with the Mustache Nation already on away games.
Oh, okay.
And so we're just like, well, let's just join the Mustache Nation local tailgate. And so Mike Pierce and those guys welcomed us in, and so we've been with them for a bunch of years now.
Yeah, I love those guys. Very welcoming to me as well. I'm definitely grateful to Mustache Nation, but also to you guys, the Devil's Crew. That was actually the first time I had a Bloody Mary with bacon in it. Actually, you gave that to me. It was the Washington State game. I think it was like an 11 or 11:30 kickoff, and I had just pulled in town. And I kind of just ran over to you guys, and I had to visit like 4 different tailgates that before kickoff, so I had to go all the way around. I think it was you guys, and then I think it was Nick Granillo on the parking structure, and then maybe Mustache Nation was still out there near the practice dome, and then I had to come all the way around to the north, and there was another tailgate there, and then I could go to the game. So it was a flurry of seeing everyone.
Yeah. So Nick Dickinson.
Yes.
Law Devil 12. He is the key to the Bloody Mary bar, so you can thank him for the bacon.
That was brilliant. It was a great, and you know what it is now. It's always something that I'm doing because I have to make sure I hide enough bacon, because then Padawan 2 comes down and takes all my supplies. I'm like, bro, what's going on here? It's like, but I thought it was for breakfast. I'm like, you didn't ask. But anyway, now I've gotten smart because he's 5'9" now, so he's at 13 years old, so he's beginning to shoot up. So he may actually get near your height, so we shall see.
Yeah, but plus, if he's that age, he's eating everything in sight, so you got to hide it.
It's always like 2-3 bowls of cereal and this and that. But I'm actually because he loves his veggies, so so I can't bag on him too hard, because if he's like munching on a carrot or this, I'm like, okay, do what you need.
Right.
Do what you need. You're all good.
That's okay. That's encouraged.
And your boys, they're how old again?
My youngest is 5. He'll be 6 in October, and my oldest is 7.
Wow.
To just turn 7 in June. They're only 16 months apart.
That's a blink, man. That's crazy how quickly that went by. That is wild.
Yes, it is wild.
That is fun. So obviously with tailgating, and then what I wanted to ask you, and again, I love the picture that you post of you. I think it's Allen Fieldhouse in Kansas.
Yep.
That's definitely one of the. So talk about that experience first, because I mean, obviously with the win, just set it over the top. But how was that?
That was amazing. It was a great trip. So first, you have to understand, I grew up in St. Louis, a Mizzou fan, and Mizzou and Kansas were in the Big 8 back then,
right?
And had what they called the border war, that then got changed to the border skirmish, and now they don't do it, although they're probably going to start it back up. But
okay. So
I grew up hating Kansas. So I called them the Beakers, and I did not like them. Right. I still don't, but it's okay. But I always wanted to see Mizzou at Allen Fieldhouse, right, when I grew up.
Oh, okay.
But then when ASU scheduled it, I was like, well, I have to do this. I've always wanted to go see a game at Allen Fieldhouse. And then so we flew into Kansas City, got some great barbecue.
Wonderful.
Drove over. Lawrence was a really good college town. Lots of fun things there. We ran into Crafty Devils and those guys there, right, so that was always fun. And then to get a win, I mean, it was sort of like the Nebraska game, right? Like you're sitting there at halftime and you're like, probably not, but we're in it, maybe.
Right.
And then you get down to the end and you're just like, wow, I can't believe this is happening. And I've told this story before, so I apologize if I've told you before. But a woman sitting near us tapped us on the shoulder and said, I don't come to every game, but I've never seen us lose at Allen Fieldhouse. And that lets you know like how crazy that was. And then to back it up with another win over them the
Back
next year
home.
in Tempe. But yeah, that was a fun night. We even did a shot of Remy Martin, and I think Mike Pierce has them, but we have a really funny one where it's us doing the like before the shot and then another after the shot, and we're all like, oh. But yeah, that was a great. That's definitely. I haven't done too many basketball roadies. I've
Right.
done a lot of football roadies, but of all roadies, that's up there in like the top three probably. It was so much fun.
That's excellent. And that was the other thing that I was going to ask you. Like you said, you haven't done a lot of basketball roadies, but which other basketball arenas have you visited?
Sure, I've been to San Diego State. I've been to both the LA schools.
Okay.
I've been to uh, Nashville, Vanderbilt.
Oh,
The
okay.
Mustache Nation didn't do football trip a couple years ago, and we did Nashville instead, and that was a lot of fun.
Right on.
And then we flew into Nashville, but then we drove down. We played at Georgia a couple nights before that, so we drove
Okay.
from Nashville to Athens, watched that game, and then drove back to Nashville and watched that game. So those are basically the ones. I haven't been to a lot of basketball arenas. That'll be
Got
something
it.
that my oldest son especially is like obsessed with basketball.
That's
And
cool.
so I guarantee we do some basketball roadies because if they keep the Thursday Saturday travel
Mm-hmm.
partner thing, it's actually great because I can fly to the Bay Area, for example,
Right.
and see both games in a weekend. And
Absolutely.
not so that's a great experience. I mean, the LA trip is super easy Thursday, Saturday to see games in both places.
Exactly. And even Oregon, because even Eugene and Corvallis are relatively close. I
Hmm.
mean, it's a decent drive, but I think the Washington schools are a bit of a stretch because you're doing the whole state. And then Colorado, Utah would be another difficult one because that's two states.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
The one that I actually haven't gone to is U of A, and
You've never
part of it
been.
is when I was big into like being able to drive and travel, I didn't have job obligations and all that stuff. We were just constantly getting our asses kicked,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to go and experience that. I've had some like I don't go to the football games anymore either because I've had
Agreed.
some run-ins.
Same.
So I was like, well, I've heard that it's just a bunch of gray hairs with their oxygen tanks at McHale, but I don't want to risk it, so I'm not going. And it's certainly not going and putting up with that to watch us lose by 30.
Yeah, exactly.
I should have known better when Harden was here and gone then, but I did not.
Right, exactly. And that's the other thing too. I think all the gray hairs are down low, where I think all the younger rowdy mouthy ones are all in the upper seats. So that's exactly where they always put us anyway.
Yeah, yeah. And so if I go now, I'll have to fork over some real dollars or call in a favor to like Dr. Crow or something and see if I can get tickets that are good so I can be around the old people instead of up with the students
Yeah,
and the
having to
rest.
deal with it because again, they don't have luxury. Oh, I don't. That's we don't have luxury boxes. But is that a plan in the new arena, the new basketball arena? Are they going to do boxes, or do we know?
I haven't seen the plans, but they'd have to, right? I mean, if you
Yeah.
look at, I mean, we have a sports law and business program at the law school, and that type of revenue is key to running any sports organization now. So, I
Yeah.
mean, there's a reason why they built all of those luxury seating in the middle section of Sun Devil Stadium when they redid it, right?
Right.
That's where the money is. And so,
Okay.
I don't know how they're going to do it when I think of the way that the building is shaped,
Right.
but they have to have that plan. I can't imagine they won't.
Is there a plan to gut the whole? Are they going to like keep the outer structure and then just tear it down interior, or do we know? Because again, like I said, I've never seen any plans, so I'm kind of talking blind here.
So yeah, the answer is I don't know.
Okay.
If the upper bowl, if you walked around, the upper bowl is the outer structure. Like if you
Oh,
walk
okay.
around, you can actually see the backside of the rows up at the top of Wells
Got it.
Fargo from the
Right.
outside. So they can't do that on the outside or on the top, but will they take that bottom part and
Fix it
jackhammer
in
it
some
all
way.
out and do it in some way? I have to think the answer is yes.
Right.
They're not going to put in. Let's put it this way: I know they're not putting in cheaper seating. It's not going to be. It's not like, oh well, let's build a bunch of $3 tickets so everybody can come. That's not talking bad about ASU. That's just not the way sports are running right now.
Exactly. No, and that's definitely the trajectory, which is actually in a good spot to be. Joe Whitener, good to see you. Brooks brothers and family. How are you? Lovely to see you guys in the chat. So, you are an ASU. Are you both football season ticket holder and basketball season ticket holder?
Yeah, I'm football, basketball.
Got
And
it.
I just want to tell Joe, I'm watching the chat too. I'm very happy to hear that Mizzou and KU are scheduled because that's a really good rivalry. It's one that should be played.
That is good. And again, with Les Miles out there, so hopefully he's turning something out there. Now, is it the same coach at Mizzou, or did he leave or retire?
So Gary Pinkel had to retire for medical reasons.
Okay.
And I think they have a new coach. So the guy they hired after him, I think, was just fired. And I think they have a new guy this year. So although I grew up a Mizzou fan, it's sort of like ASU fan. Life. I follow Mizzou through my buddies and on Facebook and stuff that are fans.
Absolutely. No, that's good. I think we all have some, and again, you having grown up in St. Louis, right? That's I guess it's more your first team, but that's now more like adopted now that ASU is where you're at now. So with basketball, always love hearing that. I heard hopefully you've got to listen to the sit down series with Brad Denny and Coach Burno. And I said, he has a great story, but how long have you been so with that, again, I have a follow-up question, but how long have you been a ASU basketball ticket holder?
Do I get to count the years I was a student?
Yes.
Then let's see. I came out here in 1992 and every year since. So
wow.
28 years.
Excellent. So you have some history. So you now know all, everything that we've had, before relative to what is going now. So
yes, I've seen a lot of shitty basketball. Is what you're saying, Rob?
I think yes, that's how we put it. But again, there was some, like you said, there were the hardened years, so they weren't awful, right? But at least it was there. But again, I don't think there's been a buzz like we have with Coach Hurley.
No, I've been told I wasn't here for the good Frieder years. I was told that the early Frieder years had some buzz, especially because they were good right out the gate, and then Mario Bennett dunked all over U of A and beat them a couple times.
Right.
So there was a little bit of buzz there, but then point shaving hit, everything went in the crapper. I mean, Ike was good. Obviously, we got to the tournament. It produced a really good. Coach Evans produced a really good color guy for the basketball broadcasts, and but yeah, I mean, there's just been so much frustration, and also. For a long time, man, I'll be honest with you, there's just so much bad. I remember a game sitting, there was only a few thousand people there, and we lost to what I think is now Utah Valley State. But this was their first year not being a junior college.
Okay.
And so they didn't even really have any seniors that they had been, like all the people they were just they were junior college last year, and we lost.
Wow.
It was such a ridiculous one. And then, you've seen us even in the early Hurley years, we lost to like NAU on some lucky 3-pointer. I mean, that's just the way ASU basketball was for so long. But I'm actually more of a college basketball fan than a college football fan. Okay. I'm more of a college football as an event fan, like the day and the tailgate. But like I can sit and watch Youngstown State play Mercer and love it. Like I grew up playing basketball. I started playing basketball when I was 5, and could have played at some really, really crappy colleges, but it's just I understand the game, and I love watching the game. I get excited. My wife makes fun of me all the time. I get excited about the various screen strategies that we use.
Oh, okay.
Do we screen flat? Do we screen from the side? Do we how do we switch the screens? Like, what are we doing? Like that to me I love it. So it's like football. I love tailgating. The games are fun. It's exciting. Right. Lots of people, but from just a watch the game standpoint, which is why I've been to so many basketball games, because even when we're shitty, I love us. I love it.
You're able to see, and it's like there's been some amazing players and amazing teams come in that just frog stomp us anyway, but at least you're able to appreciate the game itself that's being played at another level of, crap, we got beat up, but it's like, okay, you're seeing some amazing players. So what, before we get into Bob, back to some of the crappy games that we've played, what were the top 3 non-ASU players you got to see while you were a ticket holder, going all the way back as a student?
Oh wow, that's pretty crazy.
I'm sure that, I mean, that's 20, whatever, 30 years of data.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's hard to not talk about guys like any of the players at U of A. I mean, they had so many good
Yeah.
players, right? I mean, and they're there in the state, and so you got to see them. Um, man, you're like stumping me with this one.
No, I mean, and then and then while you're thinking about that, right, is like obviously with the other school right there, it's just they recruit that way. So you're always seeing some sort of crazy talent, right, come through, whatever it may be, and especially when they're surrounded by others, it's like that, right? But I mean, did you get to see Jason Kidd, right, or did you get to see any of the, even the Oregon kids? Some of those Oregon kids were
Oh
amazing.
yeah,
So
some of the Oregon players were. I remember Freddie Jones. He wasn't great in the pros.
Mhm.
He would just crush us every time. And
Right.
somehow, I think it was back to back Stanford wins here. Josh Childress both times
Oh
tipped in a missed
yeah.
free throw to win the game. Um, there's been just some crazy things, but I don't remember if I got to see Jason Kidd. It was either his last year
Oh,
or he had
okay.
just left. But that's so long ago.
Yeah, that's 403, 04, I guess, or is that before that? I can't remember.
Oh no, Jason Kidd's old, man. We're old, dude.
Was he late 90s then?
He had to be like, I think he's like early mid 90s.
Wow. Why can't I
So
remember? I mean, that's because I'm trying to figure out when all that was. Because
right, but
I started ASU in '96, so that's why I'm kind of like trying to piece that together.
yeah, and I was just graduating 96. So
Okay.
my last semester in undergrad was the 96 football season.
Yeah, that was my first season. So that was
Right.
actually
So
of all things, Nebraska was my first game. So that was like, oh, this is the way it is.
oh yeah, that's not bad. We so I've actually graduated that December, capped off my time as undergrad with a Rose Bowl trip, and then went to work.
Right after the new year, you just went.
Yep, I started. Well, I was supposed to start. It's a long story. I had a grease fire and a burn and skin grafts and things that year, but I was
Wow.
supposed to start January 10th
Okay.
of 1997 at American Express doing process reengineering because my undergrad is industrial engineering.
Okay. And so then you were able to do that. So now, was that the same one near the airport?
Nope, this was up at 101 and 17. So I was
Oh,
actually still
wow.
living right by campus, so it was a long drive every morning. But yeah, I
Yeah.
drive up there. They have a big call center up there
Okay.
with a bunch of phone reps. And so what I did was figure out, well, why do people call us? And I remember the stat was if you could save a second on average for all the phone calls, you would save them like $1.4 million a year. So
Wow.
can we make it so they don't have to go to two screens to update an address? Can they do it from the same screen?
Yeah.
And they still had a bunch of green screen stuff. So they were building all this uh, distributed technology on top of the mainframe technology and trying to get it to interact. It was a fun place to work. I actually really enjoyed Amex and respect it, but when I look back, it's like, wow, we were doing some really crazy technology, screen scraping type stuff.
Right.
It was pretty wild.
That's always the thing too. When you have money, especially when you're a financial institution and you're trying to figure out how to save, especially that amount of money, you'll invest being able to do that. And so Joe Whitener put out their kid was 93, 94.
Okay,
So
so I did
that
get to
was,
see him.
you did. So yeah, that was a few years before I even.
But I think, when I'm that young, at that point I'm 19. So I started college at 17. So I'm 19. You don't realize, like, Jason Kidd's really good.
Yeah.
We don't realize it's Jason Kidd. Like, he's going to be really, really, really good. Right.
Exactly. So no, that's actually, that was, and so now coming back to the present, right? Bobby Hurley is recruiting like a madman, right? There's been some very exciting news with couple new recruits. The recruits, I guess it's help me with the names they're both 5 stars, right?
Yep.
And their names.
So Josh Christopher
Okay.
is kid out of California, the most recent one, and
Mhm.
before that it's Joe Caldwell's grandson, Jumpin' Joe's grandson. Give me a second. Marcus Bagley. There we go.
There we go. Right, and then we have another legacy from last year he was a freshman, right?
Yeah, Jalen House.
Jalen House is in there as well. And
Yep.
so then how many seniors do we have this year? Or do
This year we will. Well, it depends on whether Verge comes back, if he comes out of the
Yeah,
draft.
that's true.
So he would be a senior.
Okay.
Remy would be a senior, but they're both in the draft right now. And then anybody else? No,
Wow.
I think Kamani is a junior.
That's what I'm thinking as well.
Yeah, that's
right?
what I'm thinking.
And then same
So
thing with
Marvin
Tayshaun.
Bagley, someone says. We
Yeah.
said Marcus, but this is brother, Marvin Bagley.
And then Tayshaun's a junior as well.
Tayshaun's a junior as
Yeah.
well, correct. Oh, and it would have, this is why I'm thinking, oh, who would it be? It would have been Mello, but
Yes.
Mello decided to go to Ole Miss for
Get
who
be
knows?
closer to home. As that's what the story is anyway.
Yeah, but then why not Georgia or Georgia Tech? I mean, I don't know. That was a really weird one to me, and usually I get to learn like the background of it. That's one that I think they're pretty. I don't know if they're doing it on purpose, but I think they're pretty tight-lipped on it. Like I have not been able to figure out the real reason why all that went down.
Right, and that's something else that I know we were talking about before our call. We'll kind of lead that way of how you're able to kind of find insights and everything else that way. But this is kind of, I guess, where your insights are as well, because you're very involved with Devil's Digest. You've known Hode for how long now? You were just sharing with me how long you've known him.
Yeah, I think I reached out to Hode and got involved at Devil's Digest in 2001.
Okay.
When I was in law school.
So it's been a while. 20-year anniversary almost for you guys then.
Yep.
Wow.
So back then, Chris Cartman, who runs
the
24/7 site, was SoCal Devil and was working with Hode at that point. So
got it. Okay. And then when did he leave? What year was that?
It was probably early 2000s, mid 2000s, because he was around for a little bit. And then at that time, Rivals opened up. And so he left Scout.
Right.
And was the publisher at the Rivals at the Rivals website. And then a few years ago, I forget exactly when, they switched.
Yes, I remember.
And Hode went to Rivals and Chris went to Scout.
See, that's wild, man, too, because I mean, I left Tempe in September of '98, right after graduation. I was a summer graduate. And so finding any sort of forums, then I was doing, internet relay and everything else, but I'm kind of frustrated with myself that I didn't find you as soon as I left Arizona and was in California, because it was nigh impossible to find any sort of information, you know, on it, especially at that time, right? A lot of people don't appreciate how new the internet and forums and everything else really was in the early aughts, I guess is what we have to call it, right?
Yeah, so I found Hode because there was a website called Cactus Ranch.
Yes.
That was probably the most active of the websites.
That I do remember.
But I have kind of a sarcastic sense of humor. And Larry, the guy that ran that site, kind of ran it with an iron fist at times. And so I think I don't remember what it was. I made some sarcastic, probably a-hole type comment, and I got banned. And so I couldn't post there anymore. And I don't think I could see it. And so I ended up searching for a new place. And
right. And that's how you were able to find. See, I think I probably may have joined Devil's Digest. It may have been 07 or 08. I can't remember, right? Because I just remember 09 when I posted the Vontez ISU sack, right? That's really what kind of...
Yeah, that launched your YouTube career,
That's exactly it, right? And so that's kind of where I use... the milestone, and then I kind of gauge it from there. So that's kind of, like I said, I wish I remember being on those sites longer. Joe said in the chat, best basketball win under coach, and I'll kind of qualify that. Best basketball win under coach that's not Kansas. How's that?
Yeah, sure. So under Frieder, it's tough. I have some really good personal memories of us winning the Maui Invitational, and I was drinking 25-cent beers at Club 411. But I think it's probably the U of A game where U of A was down by 1 or 2, and Damon Stoudemire had the ball, and he came down and he hit a 3 to win it, but Lute had called timeout right beforehand. And so then they didn't get it on restart of the play, and so we won. So that's probably under Frieder. under Evans. It's also going to be a U of A game. It's hard not to be a U of A game. So
That's fair.
lost so often early
Yeah,
on,
and so
right?
bad sometimes. Absolutely.
Right. But the U of A game, the one where I just remember the picture in my mind. It was my desktop for a while. Jason Braxton was like leaning almost like parallel to the ground, dunking on U of A, and that was like one of the very first games that Frieder had beat them. So
Okay.
that was good. Not Frieder,
Oh,
Evans.
Evans. Thank you.
Sendek. I don't know, man. I actually didn't mind her, but I feel like I've kind of, other than the Harden stuff, I kind of feel like I've put a lot of that out of my memory. But that one's probably a U of A game too. I think it was probably his freshman year where we just beat him up, and it was obvious that he was the best player on the floor. And you're
Right.
like, finally, like we have somebody who not only is their caliber, but is the best player on the floor.
Right.
And I think that was partially during their downtime too. So it was nice to just kind of like see what it's like, man. See what it's like being the underdog. So that's
Right.
good. And then under Bobby, this is crazy. There's just been so many. I mean, the most fun thing about it is
Agreed.
it's so hard to pick one. But that Xavier win a few years ago at
Oh,
home,
yeah.
where we put like 100 on them and just whipped them out of the gym, and they were like a Final Four team.
Yep.
That was amazing. We beat Mississippi State. That was amazing. They were so good. I mean, there's so many good games.
If I may, the one
Yeah.
that I just saw recently was that USC comeback one.
Oh yeah.
That was just, again, like Rashawn Burno was sharing in Brad's podcast. It was just that whole grit and grind, and you're not going to out hustle us, and we're just going to grind you until we win, is such a beautiful thing. It's almost like a ground and pound on the football field. It's just
Yes.
It's nerve wracking, and I'm going to have a heart attack, but it's just they pull it out, and that's what's just so brilliant about it. When you have to hear all the announcers, other than Tim Healy, Bill Walton, whatever else, is kind of pouncing on us. Oh, they're going to lose, and all of a sudden they come back and they have to change their tune.
Yeah, that was a game that was all about will, and that is not something in basketball we've done very often. That's what makes that one so thrilling. That's a really good one to recommend, because we have some games where we hit a bunch of threes and we win, right? But
Right.
that game was not that way. That
No.
was a game of, we are just going to will ourselves to win against a good team. Like, we've done it and then like, oh, we're gonna really come back and we're gonna take it to Lipscomb in the
Right.
because we had some where we had to come back and like really dig down deep to beat teams like that. But to do it against a good USC team, that's a great choice.
And that one, and again, is that the same one? And again, I may be splitting them off, because I remember it was more of an epic back and forth. But was that the same one where we only scored like 1 point in the last 13 minutes, or was that a different USC game? Was that the same one? I can't. Maybe I'm blurring my games now.
No, I don't remember if it was 1 point. It might have been one field goal, and
Maybe
everything
that's
else would
what it
happen
was.
from the free throw line. But yeah, I think that's the same
Is
one.
it the same one? Okay.
Because it's just like, how did we win? You're just one of these ones where you're like, I don't think I saw the ball go in the hoop that wasn't a free throw in so long. How did we win that game?
It was a pure 13-minute drought, and it was just, nothing happened, and it was just, but again, the defense held, and even then, I think USC was shooting well. It's just the defense really did it.
All right, if memory's coming back to me, and again, I've got young kids, so everything is so mush up there.
It deteriorates after a while.
Yeah,
but you may not deteriorate like me.
I think that's the game where Remy pulled up and actually banked it in, where it was a line drive, and it banked in, and then rolled around and then went in.
I think just that's ugly. It was the ugliest shot that they could have taken, and it actually went in. Because it was ugly. It was ugly the entire time. It was clanking here and clanking there. And
to his credit, he took the shot that he always takes. Like,
it's always that one. Absolutely.
It's that one. You're going to come off and you're going to go to that spot and you're going to jump faster and higher. He reminds me a little bit of Kevin Johnson in that way. I remember KJ used to be able to just get where he wants, and he just jumped as high as he needed to get his shot off. And that's kind of what Remy does in that scenario.
I wish I could get a shot map of everything, because I bet you know how like the NBA map, it's like the 3-point arc, and it's like everything's on the corners and on the top, and then there's a bunch of slam dunks. I bet you if you did one for ASU, there'd be that little cluster near the free throw line that's all Remy. Like he's the only one that's taking that shot.
If you did Remy's shot one, it would be all right there, and then like 10 feet behind the arc would be the rest of them.
Exactly. It's like, oh, he's near the half line, half court line.
To be fair, he gets some layups and stuff too. He's really quick off the dribble.
That's brilliant. His speed was freaking brilliant, and everyone had to recognize that. They had to honor his speed, right? So then they would always have to go ahead and make sure they crowded, down low, so he wouldn't burn them down. So then he's like, all right, I'll just toss it, and it would always. When we needed it, he would make it. I mean, it's just, other than that, it would go in, and you're like, as a fan, it's like, what's going on here? I mean, it's like, this happens for everyone else. And now it's us. It's our turn now. So as Kyle Dodd says, why not us?
I agree.
That's right. Now, where are your seats, by the way?
So I am in the last row of the lower bowl, because actually you get a little extra leg room in that row.
Oh, okay.
And I'm in section A. So I'm on the baseline, basically the corner right by ASU's bench.
Oh, okay. Got it. So we would, if the camera was just a little bit lower, we'd actually be able to see you. But unfortunately, given the camera angle, we don't get to see you.
Right. Yeah, but I'll probably keep those forever, because unless I can afford really nice seats where I get extra leg room,
right?
You get actually like a foot and a half extra leg room, and being 6'6", 6'7", it's
right.
important, especially where they try and cram everybody together like sardines.
Exactly. See, that's what I'm hoping too, because I mean, aren't for your football season tickets, and we talked about this one too, once the remodel happened, you are cramped in your current seats now, right?
Yeah, so there's a back on the seat in front of me, which means I absolutely have to be on the aisle, and I hang one of my legs out and kind of angle myself where the other leg is doing okay, and then I make my wife sit next to me so that I'm not encroaching on anybody else.
Fair.
So,
Got it.
It's just not that one's not a comfortable situation. I was actually one of the few don't put backs on the seats, please, people, because more for leg room than anything else.
Absolutely. Are you on the west side then?
I'm on the east side.
Okay.
So basically I'm at the goal line, east side, south end zone.
Oh, got it. Okay, because most of the times I usually end up ending on the north end zone. So for some reason, I always get tickets that end up happening to be in the other fan section. So that was the same thing for Nebraska. That was the same thing for Michigan State. That was the same thing for, everything. I'm like, why am I always amongst the opponents? So yeah.
So we were in the south end zone for a whole bunch of years, like the actual south end zone for a whole bunch of years. But then when they made that the student section, or when they did away with it, we just moved around the corner, and they made it the student section and made the student section bigger. So then we just moved around the corner a little bit more. We couldn't figure, like, we have a group, so all the Mustache Nation guys try and kind of sit close to each other and all that. So it's just really hard to find anything else. We're just like, all right, let's go around the corner. So we just have never left. It's not, I don't think we love sitting there. It's just easy.
Exactly. So yeah, that's always something that we're hoping to see. Hopefully we get to figure everything out before winter sports, because it's beginning to see like, the division bell is ringing for fall sports, unfortunately. But I wanted to get your thoughts real quick on, we'll come back to basketball, but when we come back to football, I just wanted to ask you, I asked this of Brad Denny on Sunday, and I'd like you to do the same. We're already down to 9 games, right? And who knows if they're going to shave that down to something smaller, right? Whether it be spring ball or something else. But let's say, all circumstances happen, and then you are given the power to say, okay, ASU is allowed to play 5 teams in the conference. Any 5 teams you'd like. But the last game has to be them down there. Who are the 4 teams you would like to play? You're building the schedule, and where?
All right. Interesting. So I would certainly, we're playing them down there.
Yes.
I think I would put
last game.
I think I'd put USC here right before them, so that if we can run the table. I feel like USC is a great sort of hurdle, so that if you do it, you go to U of A, and it's like this is
Yes.
it. Like you're coming off that momentum and all that. So if the right before then, that makes it really hard, because some of it is, do we have a bowl season? Do I need strength of schedule? Do we not have a bowl season? Like, you know what I'm saying?
That's a
Like,
fair question, right? And Brad actually asked the same thing. So no bowl season, no Pac-12 championship game, just 5 games, for pure entertainment value.
All right, so then it's going to be the best teams in the league. I want to see us play Utah, because they're not our rival. I want to see us play Oregon.
Okay.
The other ones are kind of tough.
It's kind of a toss-up, right? Especially this year.
Because this year there's not like another team that is like, okay, that's a really good team. I mean,
right.
Washington's going to be good, but
yes. Do we want to play them?
I just, nothing about playing them excites me anymore.
Right.
Like, they play just such a different style than we do, and all of that. But if what you're really looking for is like, let's play the best teams in the league, then you got to put Washington in there.
Okay.
And then probably Cal.
Okay.
I think Cal will probably be better than Stanford this year.
Absolutely.
If it's not Bieber, that's a singer. Biebers, whatever their Garbers.
Thank you.
If their quarterback's healthy, then I think they're gonna be better than Stanford. So yes. I'll put them in as well.
Absolutely. And actually, I'm glad you said Cal, because Brad had shared start with Utah, and then have Oregon, and then Wazoo, and USC, and then U of A. So I kind of liked the Wazoo one, just because I'd like to see Rolo's style of play, but I agree with you. I think Utah definitely has to be in there. Oregon has to be in there. I'm with you. I don't think I would want to see a Washington game. I'd rather see Cal or Stanford. I think Cal's going to be the one, though. I think they're going to be really good this year. And so that was actually my second question, right? I kind of asked this one, and this one came up in the summit, right? It's obviously we're still very upset about how there may not be not much of a season, but ASU is only returning 12 starters and 7 seniors, right? So there's still some youth there. We have a whole new defensive scheme. We have a whole new offensive scheme, right? So on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being, yes, I'm upset, but having an extra year gives us the ability to prepare, or a 10 meaning I am thoroughly pissed because we were going to make a national championship run. As a fan, and we'll do this for all the major sports, as a fan for football, how upset are you about the season not happening?
So I do not factor in tailgating, correct?
No, I know that's a heavy.
Otherwise, it would always be a
10. Exactly.
Probably like a 6.5, 7.
Okay.
I mean, I think we're going to be good, and I think actually by the end of the year we could be pretty good.
Okay.
But I'm not sure this year is like the year we make a magical run. I think if we're going to do that, it'll probably be next year.
Yes, agreed.
Would be my guess. So
absolutely.
I mean, I think the only thing that may bump it up to 7, 7.5 would be that. I mean, I don't think Jalen's sticking around. So it takes a year of someone who's probably one of the better quarterbacks you're going to have in your program for a long time. And you only get to see him 2 years. It's like he's a JC transfer or something.
Exactly. And I think that's what Brad was saying, right? It's like it would be upsetting that we only get him for 2 years, right? And that's the other thing too. It's like, once you're 3 years out of high school, you can go into the draft, right? And it's like, so, because like I was thinking, right, I think Oregon fans may be a 10, right? Because they're going to be brilliant. I think Cal fans are probably an 8 or a 9, right? Because again, all the pieces came together for them. And if I was for the other school, I'd be like at a 1 or 2, because there's all kinds of stuff lots of help that they need as well. Even Colorado.
Yeah, I think they're the only fan base that's cheering on COVID right now. Like go COVID, go!
Even USC fans were like, "Damn, we got Clay for another year, no matter what."
Right. Yep.
Exactly. So now, I'm sure the scale is going to change, because I know where my number is. So for this past basketball season, right, for the tournament run, where would you put yourself at?
I was pretty bummed about that. I actually thought we were going to win the Pac-12 tournament.
Same. That's why I was thinking pretty high as well.
It was like the first year that I wasn't going, but
Okay.
I had reserved a room that Saturday night.
Okay.
And if we were in the championship game, I was going. Like I was getting in the car
Yep.
that morning and we were
Gotcha.
going. So that would put that like a 9.5. I was upset. I actually thought we were going to win.
Oh,
the Pac-12
absolutely.
tournament
It's
for
like
the first time and hang a banner and all that. I thought that's where we
cut the nets, everything else. I think that's what Coach Bruno was saying as well. Like
we just had enough depth. We were made for that.
Yes.
Day after day after day scenario.
And they were peaking at the right time, and everyone was healthy, totally and it just was absolutely there. So that's definitely, it's the potential though. Again, it's the potential of it there again, I think is what's like so exciting. But yes, and also, and again, the only baseball I follow is ASU baseball. So I think my rating, what's your rating for ASU baseball? Do you follow it, or do you follow?
I follow it casually. Okay. I just wanted, like, this year was kind of a make or break year.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's frustrating to push it off.
Yes.
I mean, we were looking pretty good, but really pretty good in the games that we got to play wasn't enough. So I'm probably like a 7 or 8 there, not because I'm such a huge baseball fan, but just because I'm just tired of seeing the debates. Like, let's S or get off the pot, right? Let's figure this out and either go with this person or get a new person. Like now we got another whole year of Smith sucks. And then everyone else saying, well, look at all the people. We got the number 1 person in the draft. And, it's like, well, we're always getting the number 1 person in the draft. I was here when Winkles was here.
Yeah, exactly. And getting all that.
Baseball of all of our sports gets into that. Like we get it in all the sports, but the one that's really like the hardcore, we don't win a national championship, we are terrible, everybody fire everybody, is baseball. Because
that's a standard.
Yeah, you had the Winkies and the Brockies, and then when Murphy was here, and we were just really, really good. And I get it, but it's just that one just there's so much debate that it's just like, okay, and I can't go to all the games. My kids enjoy going occasionally.
That's a ton,
yeah, but I actually enjoy baseball. If I'm not at the game, I enjoy baseball on the radio more than I enjoy it on TV, because I think it's a game actually built for radio.
Yeah.
So I listen on the radio or go to the game.
Absolutely. Maurice Alexander had a good question about ASU wrestling. I know I'm peripheral about on that one, but if I remember correctly, I think I was talking with Amanda Keems. I think they just won the conference before everything went sideways. I think so. I think
that's right.
I think they were actually having a really good run at the national level, and so they could have. Again, I think that's another one of those sports, like you said, that has a definitely different standard from everything else on campus. So
I'm not a huge wrestling fan, but that's one where we're kind of setting up to be what we were in the 80s,
absolutely,
90s, where we're kind of the program in the West,
right?
And so I was definitely upset that we didn't get to do that, just because I'm not a huge fan of wrestling, but I always love it when ASU's good and consistently good at something. And we had some people that were going to be All-Americans and national champions and all that stuff. And you hate it when you're that good and you only have those opportunities so many times.
Absolutely.
You get canceled.
Same thing. And then Paul Hornstein, we've been talking via the summits, and he's definitely going to be on. He actually hosts a hockey podcast. And so, ASU hockey definitely being set up for greatness as well. So that's always exciting to see how that's coming along too.
Yeah, Coach Powers is a great guy and doing a great job, and they actually work with our sports law program a decent amount. So it's really fun to watch what he's building. Again, I am not a huge hockey person.
Okay.
But going to the games is so much fun. I mean, it'll actually be a little bit sad when they have to leave the little tiny rink,
or whatever,
because it's just so much fun to go there. You're right on top of the action. But yeah, they're going to be really good, and it's fun to watch us go into some of these Midwest towns that have played hockey forever, knock them around a bunch, and they're like, what the heck is going on?
Exactly. There's these bunch of hoochies from ASU coming in and making all kinds of noise with their non-traditional uniforms.
Their damn flip-flops.
It's like, I was swimming earlier today before we got on the plane. So exactly. So so it's 8:00. We're going to do another giveaway right after, but I want to take a quick break. We'll go ahead and everyone bio break, refresh your drink, whatever else you need to. We got quite the technical difficulties in the background, but obviously the stream is going along. We're having good conversations, so we're going to continue to roll with that and have a good time with it. So give yourself another about 5 minutes or so. Get yourself a drink, go ahead, refill on water and everything else, and then we'll continue the conversation in a few minutes. So talk to you shortly, and just enjoy the intermission. It's just going to be Sounds you good. Looking at me, looking at my flags, but we'll make this one happen. Everyone else in the chat, make sure you get your drinks as well. Post your questions, and we'll review those in about 5 minutes or so. So we'll talk soon. Be right back.
Completely, but I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right. We like those little big pedal scooters. You know how like you go in these old shorts. Yep.
Look at that. I absolutely love that hat.
Yeah, this is one we get compliments on all the time. It's a Mustache Nation special. You can't get it anywhere else.
No, and I have. I don't even know if I've asked for one, but I know it is extremely difficult to get, and I always want to make sure. But that is a fan favorite. I remember when I first saw it, and I'm like, wow, that's stunning. That is. Was that the same? Was that the year he passed? Or was it the year before? When did you?
It was the year he passed,
Got
if
it.
I remember correctly.
Okay, that's outstanding. I just absolutely love that one. So, and there was only a handful, and it's extremely elite. So enjoy that one. So welcome back, everyone. I am drinking my vodka tonic again. Look at this. I can even prove to you that I got my Frou Frou Fever Tree tonic water with that as well. But I've diluted it with ice because my ball is warm, I think, is I guess how we have to put it. But anyway.
So apparently people in the break could hear my kid explaining Plants vs. Zombies 2 to me.
Oh, really? That came out?
Yes.
I didn't know that. Okay.
People could hear it, apparently.
I like it. You know what? And that's probably my fault because, like I said, the software that's actually making all this possible is grayed out and took a dump. So rather than restart the whole thing, I couldn't mute out anything. So
yeah, no worries.
We're going to have a good time with it.
I'm sure people were really excited about Plants vs. Zombies 2 in the description that my 7-year-old was giving me.
Now, is he playing it on a device or is he playing it on a console?
On his Samsung tablet. Unfortunately, we're doing way more screen time over here than we want to right now, but we'll make up for it by spending basically 8 months outdoors when we can finally go do that.
Absolutely. Now, do you guys go camping? Do you do that? Do you do that type of stuff, or just
we're more glampers. My wife actually likes camping.
Okay.
I'm not big on it. Nothing really fits.
Yeah, that's fair.
Tents are small. Sleeping bags are small. Like I could go spend $700 on a big and tall sleeping bag, but everything's so expensive.
Yeah,
I've looked into it. But I do know a couple people with cabins. That's more our style. So I'm trying to work on that for us.
Very cool. Whereabouts?
One is in Munns Park, and then the other I think is in up near Camp T, actually.
Oh, right on. Okay. Yeah. Very cool.
So I'll have to be really careful to not get a photo radar on that one right by Camp T.
The one near the strip club, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Exactly. That was the one thing. Yeah, because I've been there. What did I meant? So yeah, so we have a friend that has a cabin. They're up in the wine country, small town. In Arnold, and they're little. It's like kind of in the gold country in the mountains, but right before you get to the mountains, there's a lot of new wineries there. So it's a little tiny rustic town, but you get an amazing blend of wines there. So it's actually very cool. So I'm with you. It's a glamping. The next thing we want to do is a yurt on the coast. So it'll be nice and foggy and cold, and we'll be nice and doing the fireplace and everything else. Justin from ASU asked, have you been to Camp T?
Yes, I've been many times. Oh, and I wanted to give a shout out to Justin because he made a nice cup holder reference, which is a old school Devil's Digest joke about how we got in an argument with the San Diego State people about whether our stadium was better, Sun Devil Stadium, or what was back in the day, the Q or
okay,
Jack Murphy. And they said Jack Murphy was better because they had cup holders. They had to set their drink on the ground at Sun Devil Stadium.
Of all things, that's funny. And the other thing, making sure the helmets match the pants.
Always, yes.
And is that from the banana game, or is that from something else?
It's just because our helmets never matched our pants, and we can never figure out why. Like in the old school, like all the way up through before this time with Adidas.
Yep.
The pants were always a different shade of gold than the helmet.
Okay.
The helmet was a little more mustard, like a little bit darker brown.
Right.
And they could never get those to match up, and it just became like a running joke. Whenever we were making fun of how fans just complain about everything,
right?
My buddies and I, Nick and Kenny, and a lot of the people you've met, we're always just like, and the helmets never match the pants. So
that's always the punchline.
Yes, then another one we always talk about is, there's just lots to do here. That's why people don't go to games. There's so much to do.
I think surprisingly, again, dibs on making that a shirt for you.
Yeah,
I'm going to actually make the quote. You know,
There's lots to do here. I definitely need that one.
well, that one, there's a lot to do here, and the helmets don't match
Yes,
the pants.
helmets and the
Both
pants,
of
yes.
those are outstanding. So, why isn't Big E wearing gold? Because, you know, I love his shirt, though. The shirt's nails, though. I mean,
yeah, so
the Metallica shirt.
I have a feel. Yeah, so Metallica is good, but I have a feeling someone said, "Why isn't Big E wearing gold?" Because another one of my ongoing jokes is I don't look good in gold, which is why I don't wear gold. And I just did it because that was a big debate for a long time, and so I just always took the side of, "Hey, man, I like khaki. I like a good Sun Devil logo on my khaki shirt." And I would just make jokes like that because I don't look good in gold, and people would just go crazy, especially the people that know me. Like I said, I'm sarcastic. So the people that haven't seen me post over the years, they take it seriously and they're like, "You're a terrible fan. You never wear
You always
gold."
gotta love the combo. That's actually interesting too, because I think one of our first pictures together, we were both wearing gold.
Yeah, no, I always wear gold. I don't look good in it, but I always wear
We
gold.
always wear gold at home.
The joke was just, we had a lot of fans that were like, "Oh, I always wear my black shirt to the game. I don't like wearing gold." It's when we started the Go Gold thing.
Yes.
And so people were like, "No, I'm not wearing gold. We're maroon and gold." Or, "No, I don't look good. I'm not going to wear it." So yeah, that's that running joke.
Yeah, exactly. And why are you wearing gray? Although I'm a fan of the anthracite. So that's an actual good. That's a next question for you. Your favorite uniform combo of your sport of choice, whether it be football or basketball.
Huh. That one's tough. Football has had a bunch of really good ones.
Yeah.
Actually, the Desert Fuel one you're talking about,
Notre Dame,
was really good.
that still gets me, man.
There's a house in my neighborhood painted those colors.
Really?
It's that gray and copper.
Interesting.
It looks in. It actually doesn't look bad.
Now
But
you're gonna have to take a picture.
When we moved in here and I was walking one day, I was like, "Oh, it's a Desert Fuel house. Look at that." I probably like the all golds in basketball.
Those are good.
Those
are good.
So good.
And
I
that's
do
the
not
one we can
ever want to see all gold in football.
See, we could get away with it on the basketball court. We actually talked about that with Cole Streeper. We can actually get away with it, even if it was gold jersey, gold pant, and even gold shoe. We can get away with it, but when you go ahead and start doing the all gold, it just goes sideways.
I don't like the banana unis. That they looked terrible back then, and they would look terrible now.
Were you there? Let's see. You went. When was your first year?
That was the year before I got there.
Got it. Okay.
The last time they wore the banana unis was the year before I got there.
Right. And I love this because I think it was Shane Dale in his book Territorial. I think he kind of shared that story of they were supposed to be the traditional colors, and the outgoing coach said, "No, here's these as a surprise," and then they go out and all gold, and it's like everyone's like, "What the hell?"
Right. And the picture's just is that mesh loose jersey. It's just the pictures from that game don't look great.
And it was a loss, right? It was it was like the second to last game? The second to last game?
Yeah. I know so my buddies Nick and Kenny, again, who
yes,
they want a banana uni. And so we've debated it for years. And I think we've worn them like 3 times and got our butts kicked every single time.
Yeah, I think it's almost like the black helmet combo, right? It's like, why do you want to resurrect that one, right? It's like, no, we don't need to do that. And what I'm doing is I'm looking through my thing here. I'm trying to remember what is it Desert Chrome? Yep, Desert Chrome 2016 against Oregon. That was the shiny chrome helmet with the white pitchfork.
Those are nice too.
Those were very cool.
Basically, I like almost any of the helmets with the big pitchfork on one side and the number on the other. I love that.
Absolutely,
look.
That was brilliant when they first brought it out. Has basketball worn black, or what color have we not worn on the court? I can't remember.
I believe we've worn black, but not for a while. I think we did early on in the Nike days.
Right. I know that there was a gray, which actually looked really good. That I remember.
I think we wore gray at Kansas.
I think that's what it was, right? I think it was one of those non-traditional colors that was just brilliant because they wore it several times throughout the season after that.
And they made us win, so I don't know why we don't wear them all the time.
Booster complained.
Oh, that's right. Some old guy like, here's $4 million. Never wear those again.
I'm paying you to never wear gray again, which is usually the way at ASU.
We're maroon and gold. That's
I
it.
understand. I
Yeah, I can't think of anything. We've worn white in basketball. We've worn black. We've worn gray. We've worn maroon. We've worn gold. We've worn all.
we just haven't worn black in a while.
Right. I
Okay.
don't think we've done it since we switched back to Adidas.
Got it. Oh, Joe's saying that Trent Lockett era had black. What year was
Yes.
that then?
Trent Lockett was, oh man, that's going to be mid 2000s, I believe.
Mid 2000s to 05.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
I think
before.
a black basketball outfit jersey combo was actually part of the announcement when we switched to the fork.
Oh, so that's like 10. That's
Right.
almost
When
like
we
okay.
had that crazy looking Sparky.
The Disney
Remember
Sparky
that?
or whatever they're calling it.
Yeah, that.
It
But
wasn't
that
even Disney Sparky. We had Disney Sparky. It was like
right.
new Sparky.
Yeah, but I think I remember there being the black jersey. One of the players came out when in that thing they
Right.
did at the Memorial Union to announce it.
Got it. I remember
think
that.
black was part of that.
Outstanding. Yes. Okay. I had to get to this because I know it's relevant, and I knew we were talking about this before. Was your COVID-19 data tracking? Being a data geek, I absolutely love what you're doing with that. So, just wanted to kind of hear, get the story on why did you start that, right? And we'll
Sure.
kind of go navigate from there.
So, I'm a professor. I'm a naturally inquisitive person. I like to try and figure out what's going on. And as we talked about early on, my wife and kids were at Disneyland when everything got closed down, and so it was
Right.
like it just hit really close to home. So I started going to Arizona's website, and they would basically just post a number, like 37,
Right.
and then I'd get there the next day, and it would say 42. But I didn't remember what it was the previous day because I didn't write it down. And it's like, well, what does this mean? I don't know what any of this means. I can't really put it in context.
Right.
And so, I mean, I'm an industrial engineer. I know how to use Excel a little bit, even though as a lawyer, you never use Excel. But
you use Word a lot, from what I
oh
understand.
my gosh, yes.
And
Word
it's like, and from what I understand, it's like this is the window, and like this is the text block, and then like the majority is like macros.
Yes, that's right. And then citations at the bottom that take up most of that other part. So yeah, no,
right.
It's funny because you can read a 70-page legal brief and it takes you like 30 minutes because most of it is just stuff you don't really have to look at unless you're researching cases and stuff. But I just got frustrated because they would post a number every day, and there was no historical. You couldn't find anything. They're using some form of Tableau, I think, as the way to show the data.
Absolutely.
And so you could actually go to the date and it would let you pull it up and you could try and change it. And like, what was it yesterday? And it wouldn't do it. And so I just got really frustrated. So I just started tracking everything.
Okay.
And so I would know that, okay, today is this number. Yesterday was that number. 2 days ago, last week was this.
Absolutely.
And then I started just trying to analyze the data. I started doing 7-day averages. I started calculating percentage positive by day.
Right.
Now there's hospital rates. There's all kinds of stuff
that's in there.
As they've added new things they started reporting. They never had good reporting on it, but they would just put up a number every day.
Here's the data.
Right. And so I just started tracking it all. And then, I started making graphs and trying to figure out like what is going on? What does it mean? 42 to 60. Like, is that bad? Is that not bad?
Right. What does that mean?
It's not good. It's going up, but is it terrible? Should we like hermetically seal our house like they were doing in China? Like, what are we doing? And so, I mean, now their data is actually really good.
They're sharing it. It looks good. It's
their
consistent.
AZDHS website is actually really good.
Okay.
They don't explain a lot of the things. Like, you see a lot for people saying, "Look, everything's going down. Why are we closed?" But it's because these epi curves, which is what they do. So I cannot track, for example, if a test was taken yesterday and comes back positive. Well, I'll joke and say tomorrow, but it's probably 2 weeks from now in Arizona.
Right.
But I'd say it comes back positive tomorrow. It'll be reported tomorrow, but I can't track it back to the test that was taken yesterday. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
They can, and they do. What that means is that on the right-hand side of the graph, every time is smaller because they haven't filled in that data yet. They're going to be filling that in.
Okay.
Because the data, they may say 150 cases today, but that's probably over the last 2 weeks. They're filling in a little bit on a lot of those days.
Exactly.
So the right side of the curve always goes down in these epi curves. They don't talk about that anywhere.
Yeah.
And so people look at it and go, look, we're almost down to 0. Well, yeah, because they've reported 5 cases from actually yesterday.
Yes.
Tomorrow it'll be 90 cases, and the day after that it'll be 130 cases.
Right, because everything caught up.
Right, but they're good. But honestly, man, there's no sports. I can't.
Yeah.
I'm not watching sports. I need something. It takes me about 15, 20 minutes a day.
Okay.
Type in the data, update the graphs, update all the averages and things that I do, and then occasionally I post it to Facebook. And early on, I think I was one of the only people posting stuff because again,
Yes.
the website wasn't doing anything, so I got a lot of traction. Now I don't post it as much just because there's so many other data sources out there, and when I post something, it doesn't get as much traction as it did. Not that I'm looking for likes or anything, but I want it to be useful because I actually taking a graph out of Word and getting it into an actual image format. It isn't hard, but it takes some time.
It does. Absolutely.
And so to get it into Facebook, for example, I'm doing that process over and over and over 10 times with all the graphs. And so I don't do it as often.
Absolutely. And so, and I want to recognize you for that, because I think you were one of the first accounts that I ever even remember someone actually saying, you know what, I need to do a 7-day average, right? Because I think, I don't know, even Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, barely recently started talking about the 7-day average. And it seems to be, that's for us, the way as much as going on, as delayed as testing is, and how fluid everything is, the 7-day average is the only thing that's really giving us a semi-accurate picture, I guess, right? Because again, not only until I guess the data catches up and testing gets better, I think you'll be able to do, start shrinking that to maybe 5, 4, 3, or whatever it is. But until that time, I guess 7-day is all that we really can look for.
Yeah, and it helps smooth everything out, because what ends up happening a lot is that one of the testing facilities won't report on a Monday, and so they'll double report on a Tuesday. Well, if you're looking at the actual numbers, you're like, oh my God,
look at that!
What is going on? It's huge, and everybody's panicked. And the Washington Post is putting out these crazy things. Arizona reports the most cases ever anywhere.
It was a record day, yeah.
Right, but it's because you're double counting Sonora Quest labs, right? Like that's 75% of the tests in Arizona. And so it looks huge, but if you average it out, it's the same as if they reported it correctly on the right day. So that's why I do it. Just smooths out the data, makes it much easier. And so that's why I decided to go that route.
So now so now back to the numbers, right? Is the 7-day trend across everything getting better or worse?
Better right now in Arizona.
Okay.
We are 10% down roughly. State level is actually closer to 11%, 10% down in Maricopa County over 2 weeks ago.
Interesting.
So this most recent 7-day average is down 10% from 2 weeks ago.
Interesting.
And that's while testing is roughly the same. So you're not looking at fewer tests. You actually have roughly the same amount of tests. You do have it going down, and the percentage positive is going down as well. The 7-day average on the percentage positive.
Got it.
So we have that double trend. So we had the opposite of that. We were outpacing testing on the number of cases, and the percentage was going up, which makes sense. They kind of go together. That's flipped. Now it's not going off a cliff. We're not down 45%, but it shows that Governor Ducey finally relenting and letting there be some enforcement actually worked.
Right. And then does that include deaths and hospitalizations, ICU, all that other fun stuff, or is that that's still more lagging than the 7-day
that's lagging.
Okay.
Deaths are actually way up. Deaths are up 120% daily average in Maricopa County over 2 weeks ago, and about getting close to 100% at the state level.
Okay. How's Navajo Nation?
They're not great, but they've figured it out. Like they're much better than what they were. Yeah,
that's good to hear.
Yep. And so actually part of the problem I read today that they're running into is because they're not this national hotspot that's always in the news, they're running out of donations. Like they need some water, they need some other things. So hopefully, I know our Indian law program at the law school is trying to work on that.
Okay, got it. Get more attention, get them more help, because just because they're not getting national attention doesn't mean they still don't need help.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I mean, I had heard it, but it didn't like register in my thick skull. There are a lot of people up there that don't have running water.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
crazy.
That was actually one of the first times I went for. This is going back to my. I went for one of my first chess competitions in Kayenta. So that was
Okay.
that was my 7th grade, and that was my first exposure to that. I'm like, wow, that's still, and like you said, it still is, right?
So
So
this
absolutely.
is why we like each other, Rob. I won 3 tournaments my 8th grade year.
See, I wasn't that good.
in St. Louis.
That's excellent. Yeah, I would love to play with you just to see how I can get beat up, but also learn, because it's like, I love to play. It's like ping pong. I love to play ping pong. I'm just horrific at it.
Right.
So
No, I haven't played in so long, man. I don't even know if I remember how to castle.
yeah, exactly right. We'll have to try that at an actual Sun Devil Summit when we're actually drinking and see how far it degrades.
Yeah, let's do that. Or you can come to a tailgate and we'll like have a bunch of beers and we'll try and set up a chessboard.
Yeah,
that'll be
playing
great.
chess and everyone's just like, "What's wrong with you?"
Everyone
guys?
else, it's the Mustache Nation, so they're down in they're doing shot skis and down in some Boone's farm, and we're over there playing chess. That'd be great.
Let's do shot ski and chess. Why not?
Okay,
I'm down for that. Absolutely.
Let's do it.
So that's very. And so now, have you gotten any more attention? Like, has anyone reached out to you about your numbers, or from the media or anywhere else?
Not from the media. Early on, there's a guy who, I forget his full name. It's Garrett something. He's the ABC 15 data guru on Twitter.
Okay.
And he and I corresponded a lot early as he started. Normally he does political analysis, but they were like, "Hey dude, you know how to do math, get on this COVID thing." And so he started doing, he actually does a great job. His stuff, he uses R, like he does real.
Oh, wow. That's real.
He does real data stuff, not like what I'm doing with Excel, but
yeah, when you start using single letter programming language and databases, and then you're getting a little badass.
We shared data early.
Okay, cool.
But he does such a good job now that like he's one of the reasons I don't need to post twice a week anymore.
Got it. Because again, you're able to do that. And I remember, like, you even said that, right? You were saying, I'm doing this daily, right? And then after a while, like you said, the numbers didn't really make sense. So doing it twice a week made a lot more sense, right? And so now you're able to do that as well. So
yeah.
Question for you, back to being a faculty member, right? Justin actually has it out there. Lesson you've learned as a faculty member during this adaptive learning environment. What has something been new, or what have you learned, in this time?
So one of the things that we've learned is that online office hours, students love it way more than having to come to your office. They ask better questions. They don't feel intimidated. Like they're not embarrassed. They feel like they're asking a really basic question because they don't have that. And so those have been wildly successful.
That's cool.
And then there's some really cool tools in Zoom here where you can do breakout groups. And you can record them. So you can do like negotiations, have people negotiate. You can record them and then you can critique them and give them grades based on that stuff. So there's some things that actually we will take away from this. And law school, especially in our traditional 3-year JD program, has been no online. Like that has been historically a no-no.
Of course.
Up until a few years ago, if you took a single online course as part of your JD, you could not take the New York bar.
Really?
Yes. So this is not a group that's been online for a bunch of years, but there's a lot of stuff now that we can do online better than in the classroom.
That's outstanding. No, and that's definitely, and again, there's a lot of great things that are going to come out of this, as horrific as it's been, but that's actually very exciting. That's actually very cool to see. I'm going to bug you about questions about doing Zoom meetings going forward. So
sure. No. And there's concept of a flipped classroom where you actually have the students watch your lecture at home online, and then all you do in the classroom is group things and interact and answer questions and all that. So instead of them sitting in their chair watching you lecture in the front, you do all that online, and then you come in and you do the flipped classroom.
And so now, how are you doing are they on YouTube, or are they just on a particular site at ASU, or how are they accessing those?
Sure. So we put everything up through MediaSite, which is a video server program that ASU has licensed.
Okay.
So all that goes through, and then so that's how you get the video up, and then it's through Canvas is the LMS, the learning management system. ASU did a big switch 2 years ago.
I remember that
from Blackboard to
Yeah,
Canvas.
everyone hated Blackboard.
Yeah. Canvas is a little bit better, but
Okay.
but I still link, especially my online courses. I'll link to some things that are on YouTube or Vimeo or
Oh,
things
okay.
that are out there, and say, hey, you want to see, especially news reports of like real events.
Right.
Watch this, and it has to do with this topic we're talking about, and all of that.
That's excellent. That's very. And now, do you think you're going to be? Do you think you'll be able to do hybrid, or do you think after all the dust is settled with COVID-19 and everything else, do you think you'll adapt? Do you think you'll still do the Zoom session for something like this, where it's almost better to do the negotiation virtually like this, or do you think it'll always just revert back to classroom learning?
That one's going to be professor by professor.
Okay.
There are some professors that are they're just going to go back to the classroom in the way they've always done it.
Okay.
And that's not even an age thing. It's just there are some people that's what they like.
Yep.
So I think there'll be a decent amount of that. But we already have, especially in our legal writing program, which is our small section, no more than like 20 students.
Oh, wow.
Really intensive writing in
Okay.
the first year of the JD curriculum. They've seen a lot of stuff that they like doing best by assigning groups online and having them videotape it and do things. So I think that will certainly persist. And then I doubt we ever do like physical makeup classes again. You have to cancel your class.
Yeah.
Just record the video and do that class online. No big deal.
Absolutely.
And then, we have the technology, and most professors are comfortable enough doing that now that that's what they'll do.
I mean, that's brilliant that we have the ability to still be productive in this sort of situation, right? Because, I mean, I cannot comprehend what we would be doing in 1918, right? What that was like from an education. I mean, have you heard any stories of what it was like at ASU in 19? I haven't seen any articles posted by the university. I haven't done any research, but have you seen anything how they handled the 1918 epidemic?
I haven't, but back then we had 100 students. I mean, I don't know. I mean, seriously, we were like building a tiny little teachers college. Like Old Main was brand new. So I mean,
exactly.
So I haven't seen anything, but I mean, even imagine if this had happened. My wife and I were talking about this. Imagine if this had happened in 1990.
Okay.
Like, are we all logging into our Pine email and talking to each other?
If that, I mean, we're all on dial-up. I mean, I remember dial-up was garbage back. I mean,
yeah, we're logging into CompuServe and AOL or something. I mean,
can you imagine the planet logging in like that? Everything would have crashed.
Yeah, and like now, I have a ton of entertainment on my phone. Right?
Absolutely.
I had cable. And that's was some entertainment, but I'm sitting and watching the tube all the time. I don't really have the internet. My phone is on my wall.
Exactly, and that's voice-to-voice communication. That's not access to. That's not access to the whole planet.
Right, and then if I'm online, somebody calls me, I get booted offline. Right,
or you get a busy signal. It's
yeah. It's so funny. Busy signal. I heard one. I forget who I called the other day. I heard a busy signal. I was like, this is like a blast from the past. Right.
For those of you who remember it in the chat, a busy signal. Exactly. It's definitely, just thinking about it, just the convenience that we have now to be able to do this.
I order all my groceries online and I go pick them up. They put them in my car for me. And then anything they don't have, I come home, I sit back at the computer, I pick a different fries, and I order those things, and I go pick them up tomorrow.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's so easy. We have so much convenience here. My kids can sit there with their stupid tablets all day and entertain themselves.
Absolutely.
I would be driving myself crazy if that wasn't an option.
Oh, absolutely. I remember summers where, you only had, I guess it was NBC, CBS, ABC, and then like maybe 2 local affiliates. So I mean, in the summer, if you didn't, and I mean, in Arizona, we never had. I mean, we didn't have a pool, right? So we had the neighborhood pool. So we would that would be a rarity. But I mean, you didn't have TV. You're either watching, General Hospital right after lunch, and you're like, ugh, I don't want to deal with this, right? So you're just waiting. So I mean, and that's the other thing too with That's what the wonder is of Amazon. I mean, I keep telling my kids, like, you have no idea what, being able to order online is like now, because sometimes you would just mail stuff into a catalog and pray to God it came back to you in 8 weeks, Right. So it's just the logistics of it is just a brilliant way we can do it now.
So if we got, I guess the moral of the story is if we have to go through a global pandemic, I've whined a lot about it, but now's not a horrendously terrible time to be doing it. I'm very happy we're doing it now and not 25 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Agreed. And shout out Paul. He still has a rotary phone, so that's amazing.
There's some really hilarious videos out there of Gen Z trying to figure out how to use a rotary phone.
Yes,
Paul,
I've
you should
seen
watch
those. I have seen those. Yeah, and it's just like, or even there's videos where the kids are trying to use a Game Boy. Have you seen that one? They're touching the screen. They keep tapping the screen. They completely ignore the buttons. But anyway, It's like if it's not touchscreen, then it's like why bother? Yeah, that's why we should give them a regular TV with knobs and an antenna, and God help us with all that. So
go figure out the channel 30 on UHF there, Gen Z.
Oh man, I remember. It's like what was so. I can't even remember. How many channels did you have when you were growing up? Because what year was? Because I mean,
we never had cable.
Neither did my parents. Not until I was.
So yeah, we had the big 3, eventually the big 4 when Fox became a thing.
Okay.
And we had
no like side affiliates like that. It was just
we
ABC.
did. We had channel 11, channel 11, and then we had the PBS.
Okay, got it.
Oh, Stacy's asking me beer questions.
Hey, here we go. Oh my goodness. Shout out to Stacy Price. Okay, hold on. Wait. Because of that question, hold on. Stacy, you just won yourself a $5 gift card to Cactus Sports because that's a fantastic question.
So my answer is a very lawyerly answer, and that is it depends. Is it a weekday or is it the weekend?
Oh, that's funny.
If it's a weekday, I want to go to the Timberwolf and have some craft beers for the first time ever because that's like I didn't know there were this many beers that
Look at all these handles.
Right. What is going on? But I mean, you got to go do laps at Club Rio on the weekend, right?
Yes.
Go get your Long Island iced tea and walk circles around that place.
Absolutely.
And check everybody out.
That's the thing too. I think, and then that's my consultant answer. It depends, right? And I absolutely agree with you because Timberwolf is definitely one of those that a lot of people don't appreciate, right? Because that's when craft beer was really coming out and having all those, and then you would end up with a crappy ass beer, and you're like, ugh.
Right. It's like, they have Sierra Nevada. That place is fancy.
I've heard of that, and you can go ahead and talk about. But Club Rio, making laps at the Club Rio, and that's the other thing too that I, again, get off my lawn because I'm old. I don't know how this generation cannot appreciate, a $2.50 pitcher of Long Island iced tea. It's like, why are you paying $500 for bottle service? You just have a bunch of lights and everything's flashing on you. It's like, no, get your pitcher and just walk around and you get thraxed for $20. And it's just like, if you're able to make a lap, it's a good night.
Right. As long as you can still lap, you can stay. If you can't lap, you got to go home.
Man, it was, So, I mean, it's just, Club Rio was brilliant. So I actually partied at Club Rio the night before the Nebraska game. And so my buddy was like, hey, let's go. And we didn't cross the bridge. We actually walked the Rio Salado, went down and up, and then we went to the game and did the same thing after we carried the goalpost. So good memories at Club Rio, which was actually Devil House before that.
Yes. Anytime you talk to alumni a little bit older than us, they're like, did you ever go to the Devil House? And you're like, well, kind of.
You just have to know the translation there.
Right.
And then Warehouse. I don't know. I remember that one. Which one? That may be before us, Paul. So you may have to remember us because Devil House. Yes, absolutely. Devil House was Club Rio. Absolutely. And then so the other one was
but then there was the place on Mill that was Bojo's, but then for a while they were the Dash, and then they were Devil House. Like they brought back all the old names in that one location. I miss Bojo's actually. I used to DJ there. That was fun.
Yeah. Look at you. What kind of setup did you have?
CDs. I was not a real DJ.
Oh, right on. So then you would just go ahead and play
CDs and a mixer. Yeah, I was just there to get free drinks, man.
See, I used to work at Jets and Sticks in Scottsdale.
Yep.
So that's where I was. I used to work the door, so I was, I saw everyone coming in. So it was, and then I got booted out of that gig, and then I just left. So Minder Binders was one. The
Oh
other
yeah.
Minder Binders.
First time I ever
to.
saw Carvin Jones was at Minder Binders upstairs.
Right on. And then what's the other one that was on McClintock, way in the hay out there? Was that Minder Binders? Or was
that's Minder Binders over on
Okay.
McClintock. Yeah.
Got it. Because I was like, I knew there was one way out there that was at. So I was, and then Cluck You, obviously, Long Wongs, Gibsons, all those.
Senior Frogs.
Senior Frogs.
Yeah, Boogie Nights at Gibson's. That was always big.
That was always good. And then it's Devil's Advocate right now. Maloney's? No.
Yeah, Maloney's.
I still love going to that place because they're the only one of the few that has Steins. They still serve in Steins. So it's like Mrs. Jedi, you actually stole one for me. One of the last nights before we left, she stuffed it in her purse and she said, "Here." I'm like,
yep.
And then
one of the most dumbfounding things about night scene in Tempe is like if imagine if 1997 or 8 I told you 2 bars are going to survive from this time in 2020 and they're going to be The Vine and Fat Tuesdays. It's like this. What?
Liar.
Right. No way.
And that's right. Fat Tuesday. God, that one's probably as old as Mill itself because I don't think there's anything around it that has lasted that long. Maybe Rula Bula?
Rula Bula came after. It wasn't long after it, but
wow.
But Fat Tuesdays was before that.
Fat Tuesday is still there, and I still love their atomic cherries. I mean, and that's the other thing too. I would love to go there and just light it up, but I know I probably would not handle it very well the next day.
Plus, you get all the brain freeze. Who wants that? When you're trying
that's
to have a good
garbage
time?
too. I mean, it's good, but yeah, the Vine. See, and that's another one that I love going to because if I'm staying at the hotels near there, I'll just walk and get like a bunch of wings. And then go back to the hotel because I don't want to be the oldest person in the Vine,
right?
Eating a bunch of wings and everyone's staring at me. Oh, that's good. Karaoke night, yes, absolutely. You were gonna say,
someone posted the Owl's Nest on Mill. I actually was a bouncer there the days they opened, and then in law school I DJ'd there.
Is that where you were at then before? Is that where your first or second DJing gig?
That was my second DJing gig.
Where is
it wasn't
I
really.
Can't remember that.
It was upstairs from Hooters. So Hooters company basically helped redo that whole building. For a while, there was a McDonald's on the corner on the first floor where the library ended up being.
Right.
Then it was Hooters, and then it was the Owl's Nest above it.
Got it.
So I was a bouncer at the Owl's Nest right when they first opened, and then I went and was an engineer for a while, and then during law school I came back and was a bouncer and a DJ there. So I was in and out of that joint.
Now wasn't there a piano bar downstairs in the basement as well?
Yeah, it used to be called Belo's, also owned by the Hooters Corporation when it opened, and now it's called Low Key, I believe.
But it's still a piano bar.
I believe so. Never been. I've heard you Lucille so many times in my head or in my life that I don't go back to piano bars, but I think it's still a piano bar.
I did one piano bar in Orlando and I said, check, and I moved on. So that was about it. So now I wanted to hear, obviously with Devil's Digest, you've been with them, you've been with part of it for a while and building that up. I wanted to hear a little bit more about that history, right? So you reached out to Hode in about 2001, right? So was it fledgling? How long it had been? Was it like kind of new, or let's start from the beginning?
It was fairly new. I think Hode had taken it over from the previous person a couple years before that.
Okay.
But it was still pretty slow. Cactus Ranch was dominating at the time, and we would really only get the people who got axed from Cactus Ranch.
That's what Sherry said. It wasn't too hard to get axed.
It wasn't hard to get. It wasn't hard to get excommunicated from Cactus Ranch. But a lot of the current posters were on Cactus Ranch for a while, like Matt Self. And but yeah, so basically Larry would get in a bad mood and he'd axe a bunch of people, and then they'd come over and they'd hang out at Devil's Digest. And so Hode was early on, and I was in law school, and so I didn't want to spend the money, and so I reached out and said, "Hey, you want a moderator? You can't be on this thing all the time," because most people don't know Hode's got a job, like
full-time job.
Yeah,
he's hustling. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, Hode works his butt off, man. But yeah, so I've been a moderator ever since. I used to cover basketball games and write the game stories.
Right on.
Then he started getting the interns from Cronkite,
Yep.
and they would do that. And so I just moderated. Occasionally I would write like an opinion style piece of some sort.
Okay.
And now I just make stupid jokes on the website. That's basically my role there. But yeah, I've been with Hode for a long time, and Hode's a good dude. I think he works really hard. I think he does a good job. And I just like the culture that he builds
Yes.
and on his sites.
Absolutely. No, and that's definitely one thing that I'm grateful to him. He definitely gave me my start in the sense that he gave me a platform to be able to, like I said, once I started doing the highlight videos, right, and the streaming that wasn't necessarily on the up and up, but that was in the early 2010s, but it gave access to people that wouldn't normally get to see the games anyway. So it was actually, good to have, like you said, a good community that was open to it and that was appreciative of it. So that's definitely one of the things that I always like about going back to Devil's Digest as well. And so, other than the growth, what are some of the things that you've seen? Like, what are some of the good changes and some of the bad changes you've seen? Since 2001.
Sure. So, Hode has become. I mean, Hode's always had good connections, but he's become really good. Like, he has really, really good connections. Like, he gets information super early from the right people. It's reliable. He's become a better writer. I found his stories have gotten better over the years. One of the things I thought early on was he would get the information, but he didn't always convey it super well. But now he's good. Mostly it's the culture. Like, if you're in online forums, and now there's enough people doing it that you can have multiple online forums.
Right.
But different places have a different culture. Barstool is very different than other places, for example. And I think he's really good at fostering a open conversation. Like, he allows some things that I think would get people banned at other places, for good or for bad sometimes. But part of that might be my influence. My moderator thing is somewhat libertarian. And I let people say things that people would probably not always like to be allowed. But I think that's good. I think people should be able to say that Dirk Cutter's the worst football player ever, first football coach ever, but just constantly pound it. And so I think we've built a really fun, welcoming place. The comment I get is that when I started there, I didn't know anybody, and then I was just welcomed right in.
Right.
And everybody really made me feel like I was part of the community. And so I think that's big. And I think that's been a big part of Hode's success. Obviously on the downside, it really sucked to build the largest Sun Devil community online anywhere and then have the rug pulled out from you and switch during the switch, that sucked. But it turned out fine. The Hode's built this community at Rivals and
held the same standard.
Yeah, and so things have just kind of start over and go.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, he had a huge group of people that it was just lost.
And they stayed, right? And again, some people didn't come over or anything else. I do remember that it was a big rift. I remember
and all of this. Oh, I should say, all of this is not a knock on Chris or anything going on over there.
Clearly, no, I didn't get that either. That's very fair.
Chris is a really, really good writer. Like, he is really good. I like a lot of the stuff that he writes. It's just a different culture.
Yep, absolutely. I agree. And also, question from Joe. Again, this is another inside joke. Did he ever get the stain out of his shirt? Did Hode ever? I don't think so.
No. And he'll suck until he gets the stain out of that shirt.
And that's actually, and I will actually add to that. I actually met him for lunch in Stanford, and I actually walked him to a Nordstrom's because he had to actually buy another shirt because something fell on his shirt.
See, he learned his lesson though. He was like, he's not going to get seen with the stain on his shirt like he did that one time.
If I'm going to show up with another stain on it. So he made sure of it. So God love you, man. So that was good. So all right. So who else do we have in there? So I got one. Now I can't do the other one but you know what? Mary DEC, Mary December.
Don't do that. That's my wife.
Is that okay? So I won't give her one then.
She has to be here.
She has to be here. Although seltzers are life. You know what? The very first seltzer I ever had, my dad brought back from New York. It was a New York seltzer. It was root beer, and I had never had anything that was like that. And then all of a sudden, they started showing up in Arizona like a year or two later, and I'm like, okay. And then they disappeared, and it wasn't until I was here in the Bay Area that I'm like, and then my kids love them too. So seltzers are good. I can't mix them with anything. I just like, although they changed their formula. So I was kind of upset about that too. So anyway, but that was it. So yes, but I appreciate it. But shout out to Mary and the boys. I appreciate you guys. So what's next, right? What do you got coming? So now, what does the next semester look like? What do we got coming up? Obviously, what's the next semester like for you, and what are you looking to see?
So I suspect that we'll be in person for at least a little bit.
Okay.
It depends on how Arizonans do, controlling their partying impulses. But I think, and then I think it'll just be everybody will get to make their own decision. Some students will want to be on campus and some will not, and some will get on campus and feel weird about it and want to go online, and others will be at home and decide they need to be on campus. And it's just going to be a lot of, let's put it this way, we're not making a lot of plans. We're putting a lot of structures and A, B's, and C's together, but we're not actually ready to implement much. We're just going to see what happens and go with it and adjust on the fly. I mean, the spring was crazy to go from normal to not being anybody, no students in the building over spring break. And so we'll have to adjust and be ready to do that. But, right now we're dealing with, they're actually doing an in-person bar exam, and our students are not happy about that.
I saw that. That's what's the venue? It's fairly large, right?
Yeah, they're doing it at the Phoenix Convention Center, and they have 600 people signed up, but they're doing it in rooms with 1,800 capacity. So I think they'll do some social distancing and things, but that's extra stress on the students. I mean, it's already a super stressful situation to say, okay, I graduated law school and now I have to sit here for 2 days in this chair, and the performance how I do these 2 days depends whether I get to be a lawyer or not.
Yeah.
So that's already stressful. So they're moving forward with that. But then they're doing an online one in October, but we're dealing with that with our students. We didn't get to do graduation.
Yeah.
Some of our students are kind of frustrated. I don't think they're mad at us, but they're just frustrated. They didn't get to have that moment, right?
Do you think they will let students from previous years walk? Let's say in 21 they let them walk. Do you think they'll let them in?
I guarantee we do. Yeah, cool. We actually had planned and actually reserved a venue to do. This was early on, to do a separate in-person one the day after the bar exam was over. So most people would be here, they'd be in town, they could figure out, but just the numbers just don't allow us to move forward with it.
Got it. Okay.
I mean, it's just not something we can do. Even the university wasn't too comfortable with that idea. So, but those are the types of things that we're planning. Like, what are we going to have a December graduation? Well, we need to plan like we are, but if we have one, then all of these students that didn't graduate in May may want to come. We usually do it in the building. We're not going to have enough space in the building. We're going to have to rent a venue. But do we want to rent a venue if we might not have it? So you get the idea of everything we're trying to plan. And then we'll have students that get sick, and we'll have contact tracing, and we actually have to take attendance every day, and you have a seating chart so you know who people were sitting by. I mean, it's a pretty crazy thing, man, to try and plan out. How do you have a bunch of people in a building when everybody's telling you that one of the most dangerous things is to have a bunch of people in a building? And so,
exactly.
And so you need to. I mean, most of our students say we've done a sort of what are your intentions type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Most people say they plan on coming to the building.
Okay.
So that's the student preference.
Got it.
And so, but I don't know, man. It's one of the ones where you're just gonna like, okay, today's Tuesday. Let's see what happens. You wake up the next day. Today's Wednesday. Let's see what happens. And we're smart people. I mean, the one thing I like about the law school, the leadership is really student focused. We really care about students, and we're adaptive and smart. And so we're not trying to say, oh, we're going to move this agenda forward this year. But we're normally a planning group, and we're doing a whole bunch of new stuff and trying to. Now we're just like, nope, we're just going to see what happens, and this is going to be a very reactionary year.
That's very and again, it's awesome to have someone like ASU backing you like that, enabling you to be able to do that, right? Because I can only imagine, like, you know, individual states are doing, I can only imagine if you had to leverage your own departmental budget to fight with other,
right,
you know, other departments for the same exact resources. Now you guys are unified in the sense that you know that you have everything you need to be able to make sure the students are, and the faculty, staff, and everyone else is successful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I could work at any other university. I'm very much an entrepreneur mindset, and universities usually stifle that completely.
Okay.
But ASU doesn't. I don't think I know I wouldn't work at another law school. Like, I wouldn't get hired at another law school, at least when I did.
Okay.
But I couldn't work at another law school. And then to think that I work at a top 25 law school,
yeah,
is crazy. We just do things so differently that enables someone like me to actually be energized and enjoy going into something that is historically an incredibly bureaucratic, slow moving place.
right.
But we're not, and we can support new. I run what's called new education initiatives. So
Okay.
it's basically new product development for the law school. Like, I'm always doing new things, launching
Okay.
programs, launching degrees, launching stuff. Nobody does that. Like, no school has that.
That's
And
actually brilliant.
ASU does.
Okay.
Yeah, we use. You'll enjoy this. We use a VC mindset. We launch 10 things. 2 are going to blow up. 3 are going to tread water.
Right.
The rest are going to be terrible, but the 2 that blow up are going to be great. And we're going to be really good to the students that do the ones that even the program itself isn't successful, but we give them a really high quality experience, even though they only have 4 people in their classes.
That's brilliant. And that's the innovation from bottom to top. That's so exciting. That's actually brilliant to hear those kind of stories, right? You always hear about how ASU is able to innovate, right? But these are the kind of stories that you absolutely love to hear.
You'd love to see when I go to these conferences and I describe this process, like, the heads are exploding with my colleagues from other colleges, because they couldn't figure out, like, how do we get through the bureaucracy if we actually wanted to do it?
Okay.
And then number 2, it's just so crazy to them. They're like, no, this feels wrong.
The term I use is that this is science fiction. I don't believe it. Right. And then it's like, you know, it's so far outside of their realm of thinking and reality and everything else. Like, no, never. You can't. And yet ASU is doing it. ASU does it and makes it. And that's actually very exciting to hear. Now, are other departments doing that as well? Or is it just because, again, your leadership at the School of Law is able to do that? Or is it more of a campus-wide, or I should say school-wide initiative?
So it's a little bit of both. Some colleges are, but you have to remember, we're at the College of Law. We are not dragging around the bureaucracy of having a few thousand undergrads. Like, we don't have that.
Okay.
Only a graduate school. And we have about 1,200 students. But because we're very unique, we can move quickly, much more quickly than, say, a WP Carey, who's got 13,000 students.
I didn't know it was that. Okay.
Yeah, College of Liberal Arts and Science at ASU is bigger than the University of Oregon.
That's
it's a crazy. It's a crazy.
Those are huge
stat.
numbers. Yeah.
But we, as a law school, because we're sort of unique, we're kind of detached from the university. Like, we're part of the graduate college, but we run our own admissions and we run our own stuff that a lot of the other colleges don't. We can just do stuff. That said, other colleges could do more of what we do, especially with the way we launch programs and things. But it takes a unique person, man. Like, not a lot of colleges are willing to take the types of risk that we're willing to take.
That's wild. Like you said, I worked for a very small company that was about 80 of us, but the way the School of Law is being run, it just seems like it's very similar, very nimble, very small business minded. If you need to turn on a dime, you will. You won't. You're not turning this big aircraft carrier that makes a U-turn after, a day and a half, right? It's just like, this doesn't work, we're moving on. Or this does work, this is what we're doing next.
Yeah, what we're willing to do is say we try. So we have a program in patent practice. So people with a technology degree can actually take the patent exam.
Got it.
Now people know that they can be a patent agent. So we're like, well, let's train these people. There's got to be a bunch of people that want to do this, right?
Right.
So we developed a whole program, and we get like 2 students a year. Like it's just not working. We give them a high quality
Of course.
experience, but that's one that we're just willing to say doesn't really work.
Yeah, it's not the
And
volume. It's not matching what we need.
right.
It's
But we're
it's an
not
awesome
embarrassed.
program. No, exactly. You put up a quality program.
Right. Other schools would be embarrassed. They would view that as a failure.
Yeah.
We view it as part of the learning process.
Oh, absolutely.
It's what enabled sports law to start as a sort of startup program and then launch into its own degree because it was so
Interesting.
successful.
Got it. Because everyone was looking towards it.
Right.
And then Paul mentioned this earlier. He has a son, 16, is looking at it. Copyright law. His son is actually interested in that. So I guess that's definitely part of some of the things that you're offering as well. Has that been one of the established type of things, or is it some of the, or what's the new innovative thing around copyright law that you might be doing?
So we do very traditional copyright law, and then we tell you all the things about, you need to fix something in a tangible medium of expression. It's a work of authorship and all that. But copyright around AI. You program an AI, and AI writes a story, and it's $1 million story.
Right.
Who owns that copyright?
Exactly. Right.
Is that even a copyright? Is an AI an author?
Yeah, and that's
so these are the
Yeah.
types of things we do in our Center for Law Science and Innovation. We do a lot with
wow.
blockchain, a lot with AI, a lot with nanotech. We have
Oh,
something
that's
we
exciting.
call GET, G-E-T, the governance of emerging technology. And it's
Okay.
how do you try and keep pace with your policy ideas rather than say
Oh,
technology gets so far out in front of policy and then something really terrible happens. And so we overreact. But how do you kind of
right.
keep your policy ideas at pacing with the technology? Maybe you don't implement them, but you have them ready to go so that when it's time, you can put something in. So that's something big. And so this idea of AI, I mean, AI is going to write and cook and
Yes.
program and do all kinds of stuff for us.
Live
And there's going to
work.
be there's going to be all kinds of ownership issues.
Yes.
And that we haven't even thought of.
And-
Like the copyright idea is perfect. AI makes music. AI will be able to make the perfect pop song
Right.
by analyzing all the other pop songs. And they're going to write the perfect pop song, and it's going to be worth more than $1 million. And who owns it?
Who owns it? Right.
Right. The AI wrote it. Can you and I just go copy it because there's no
and-
real
And the
copyright?
programmer can't, and the company that is hosting the AI cannot,
Right.
right? And again, I guess that's where the claim happens. It's like, oh, we host the structure in which the AI exists.
Right.
So that's our claim, which is wild unto itself.
Right. So one of the jokes I say is, well, let's just feed the AI all the copyright laws and have it write the copyright law to handle itself.
Which may actually end up being the case.
Yes. And then we have our computer overlords.
That's why, yeah, and that's actually interesting because I mean, I always go back to the Matrix, right? There was this right before the second Matrix movie, they did a crap ton of shorts. I don't know if you ever saw them, but one of them was a backstory as to how the world got to the Matrix. Right. What was the battle between the machines and what they decided to do and how they developed their own country, right? And how it turned into a world war between the humans and the robots. But what happened is that what sparked it is that a robot was murdered. And so actually a human was murdered by a robot. And so they had a whole trial of, again, is this robot that's an AI supposed to be held accountable for the murder of a human, and under what laws, right? Because then it really sparked a whole revolution in the robot community saying, you know what, no, you can't treat me, you have to treat me as a sentient being and life rather than a servant. So it seems like that kind of law, like you're saying, is something that you're even considering now.
Yeah, no, this is all stuff like, how do we handle it when most of us are on universal basic income or whatever we come up with, and the work's all being done by AI and robots? Like,
right.
How does that all work?
Yeah. How do you do that?
How does property? Like, how does the concept of property translate in that time?
Yeah, because that's frightening too. Because then you're like, okay, now you looking at a new whole. I don't like using this word, but I mean it's the only one that's coming to. It's a slave trade, right? Because now you're using these robots as slaves, right? Because again, they are their own sentient beings, doing their own work. So why are they able to, right? I mean, it's always sad. Have you ever seen those little? Sky Harbor has those little robots that goes around and has a little robotic face and helps you out. And I've seen some people in airports destroy them, just yelling at them, knocking them over, taking them off their treads, damaging the screen and everything else. Because again, it just I guess impacts and it strikes too close to home. But it's just
Did the robot tell him to wear a mask?
I wish. Maybe that's why, right?
Maybe that's why.
And so that's why it's always, frightening to see that. And it's like, wow, that behavior's already there, right? And how's it going to get magnified even now? And so,
but this is why law is so fun. And we didn't even get to the ethical aspect of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Is there a moral issue with having computer slaves?
Oh, exactly.
I don't know. I haven't even thought about it. You brought it up, and that's the first thing I thought about. But anyway, this is why the law is fun, and why a legal education of any sort, if you do it right, if you being the student do it right, you really try and learn both sides. You really try and think through it. It changes your perspective on the world. It makes you much more annoying, as my wife will tell you. The answer to every single legal question, and I don't care what the legal question is, every single legal question, the answer is it depends.
Fair. Okay. I like that. And that's the same thing for negotiations too?
Yes, because we want this. Well, it depends. What if they're going to give us that? Like you have your goals, but then again, it's like waking up in the era of COVID.
Yeah.
They just did this. We got to react.
Right. Animatrix. Thank you, Justin. It was the Animatrix. So if you actually get to dig it up in, on YouTube someplace, give it a watch, because for you sci-fi nerds out there, and actually watch it before Matrix 4, which they were filming actually here in the Bay Area. So they filmed the second one out here in the Bay Area. So that was back in the dark ages. So anyway, CJ argues everything, even if he agrees with you. I believe that's Paul's son. So were you always that way? Would you always argue like that? Or were you always one that was like, I'm going to challenge and argue and kind of negotiate it out? Or it was just...
No, I was an engineer, man. The answer was like 0.43 foot-pounds. And then the first case I read for my first day of law school is an old case about, it's like from the 14 or 1500s. These people are out on a ship and it goes down.
Okay.
And they get into the life raft. And there's this young kid in the life raft with them, and he's dying. He's not doing well. He was already sick before they got in the life raft. And they kill him and they eat him. And by eating him, they get the nutrition they need to live long enough to be saved. Are they guilty?
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Right, and I'm sitting there going, this isn't 43 foot-pounds anymore. Like, this is totally different.
Depends, exactly.
It depends, right? And I think I looked up and the other thing that people get frustrated in law school, you read an entire case, and then they don't tell you how it actually ended. They say, well, then they sent it back down to the lower court to think about this, this, and this. But they never tell you that eventually the case came out like this.
Oh, gotcha.
You have to look it up on your own. So anyway, I looked this one up, and I think they were guilty, but they just happened to escape from prison.
Meaning?
So the king at the time knew that they were guilty because you shouldn't kill people.
Yes.
You want to deter others from killing people. So they're guilty. They went to jail, but then the king let them out.
Oh, so they were in there for a moment and they moved on.
Yeah, so the king understood that the purpose he wanted was to deter other people.
Got it.
Got that out in public, and then just let them go.
And then they were gone.
Right.
Shout out
Probably said you have to go somewhere else.
Exactly. Shout out to Ralph Amsden, the himself, joined in there. So, have computers already enslaved us? I may agree with that, but you know what? One of my favorite things to do is disconnect. I still love to read. I still love to, there'll be Sundays where I'll just be completely off. So I think we're still at a point in which we can disconnect.
I think a better term might be that so far they've entrapped us, but not enslaved us. I think they have so much of our attention and we rely so much on them, but it's not impossible. You can live your life if you put your phone down.
Yes.
So we're not enslaved. You can do it. In fact, people pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to go to places that don't have Wi-Fi so that they can do it.
Exactly.
But I don't know. It wouldn't be too much longer until we're kind of at least mentally slaves to our devices and to technology.
Right.
And things like a solar flare and all that will teach us. I mean, this experience is telling us how much we rely on technology right now. As we talked about, if this had happened in the 90s, things would be completely different.
It would be way different.
We'd adapt, but now it's harder now if the technology went down. If there was a pandemic and a solar flare, we're screwed.
Exactly, because what we're able to do is a connectivity is lost, right? Where before we didn't have any connectivity whatsoever.
Right.
We'd be able to do, what is the classroom by mail order? What was that? Correspondence courses, which I absolutely hated, because then you're doing it, you're feeling good, and then you turn your stuff in, and then all of a sudden like it's all wrong.
Yeah, I'm actually really interested. Would they have just said, screw it, we're still doing school? Or would they have tried to go correspondence? I don't know. I don't know
if that would have been the case. Yeah, because I think it's very curious to have thought. Right. Again, I don't know how they did it. I always look to the past, even though they were much more limited in 1918. Just how did they handle that? Right? How did they handle that?
Because there's a ton of financial pressure at a university to continue on. I mean, we're not a house of cards. ASU especially, I think, is on solid financial footing. But if you just turn off everything in the middle of a semester and refund everybody's tuition, it's not like we can go out and just raise a bunch of money by doing a public offering of some sort. There's a ton of pressure there
to keep going.
And we're able to say, okay, we're online and all those things. And there are ways we can give really quality education, I think, distance learning now with the tools that we have.
Right.
But back then, I'm not sure. I think they probably would have.
It would have been...
A real quick, interesting financial thing, as ASU fans, people will enjoy. The state gives us $300 million roughly a year.
Okay.
ASU. That is less than 10% of our budget. So we are almost a private university at this point. I mean, don't get me wrong. Them cutting the purse strings really hurts.
Of course.
But we're a $3+ billion enterprise at this time.
Wow.
And we get about $300 million from the state legislature. It's a real... Dr. Crow has been, depending on how you look at him, he's at least been innovative.
For sure.
And moving the place forward.
Absolutely. And he's happy here. And he continue. I would love to know, again, how do I put this? What's the future vision for ASU? Obviously, he had giving it as the new American university, right? And you can see that it's very accessible, right, online, and the population is huge. And like you're saying, it's definitely a huge enterprise that is successful, because you do see people graduating, being successful, and going on. What is ASU going to grow to now? Is it just growing in population, or is there something else?
I think it's both. It's really hard to predict the sort of innovation in the pedagogy or the substantive areas that we teach. It's certainly growing online, and in a way where what we're doing is we are educating people who would otherwise not be educated.
Yes.
And so it's not that we're out there competing with ground courses. There are a ton of people out there who are never going to be able to go to a traditional program at a traditional university. And so online will continue to grow in quality for those people.
Okay.
But then we're doing things like remote campuses. I think you know this. We're completely redoing the LA Herald building in downtown LA.
Yes. Okay.
So ASU will be in LA. And I would be shocked if we don't start educating Californians there.
Right.
And I would think that at some point we have to go to California and say, we're an in-state school for you.
And that's what the tuition is. Makes absolute sense.
And I think California gives a whole bunch of help to students in lower economic. So I think ASU will probably go and say, do you know what we're really good at? We're really good at educating a wide, diverse group of people,
Absolutely.
and we're in your state, and you should include us in what you do.
That's
We're an
a brilliant
in-state school
move.
for you. I think that's where it's headed. This is complete
That
conjecture.
makes kind of sense. That kind of makes sense from a positioning perspective, right? Because then I could see them establishing a campus up here in the
Right.
Bay Area, right? And then establishing campuses, let's say on the East Coast, wherever it may be, right? Okay, let's buy one and let's go in and go from there. So
Yeah, the real interesting thing is because if it gets real popular, right? Do they launch a sports program?
that's interesting. Yeah, is it exclusive to main campus only or
Right.
the in-state?
Right. I mean, we have 10,000 students that take classes on the downtown campus now.
Yes,
We're bigger than lots of universities,
right.
but we're one university in many places. We're not separate
Exactly.
places. Is at least the way that is the policy and the way that they try and implement things.
And I think that may be the case then, right? Because let's say the campus, I don't think so downtown has very unique programs, separate from what's on Main, separate what's from on, I don't know if you call it East or Williams. It was East when I was there.
Polytech.
Polytech, right? So now, again, they're all distinctly unique, right? So
Right.
is the campus in LA going to offer distinctly unique degrees, or is it just going to be an extension of the degrees that are already on main campus? Because to your point, if they offer unique degrees, then now you're then all your students for that particular degree have to go to LA, right? And I'd be curious, but I think that's an exciting direction if that is indeed the direction.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's all conjecture, but I can't think that I know that California has nowhere near the actual number of seats they need. There are people who are going to go to college that are Californians that have to go out of state.
Yes.
There's just not enough
my
capacity.
next door neighbor graduated from ASU. He wasn't getting to any of the college schools here, and ASU gave him a hell of a lot more money. So he moved. He graduated there. He bought a house there. So he's now an Arizona
So what we're
resident.
going to do is we're just going to put ASU there. Makes a lot of sense to me, right?
Absolutely.
Like it's smart. I don't know. Again, this is complete conjecture. Maybe it's only going to be a boutique thing where we have a couple small programs. I just that's not the way ASU does things.
Yeah,
but
that's outstanding. That was another question. A couple questions in the chat. I think you may have seen it. Going online this fall due to the pandemic, should ASU lower their tuition? And again, I think that was something that we had seen. I'd seen a lot of tweets, but I wasn't exactly sure where that landed.
So this one is super difficult.
Right.
So the use of the term should automatically makes it a value judgment, sort of a normative judgment, which makes it tough because it's different for everybody.
Okay.
So one of the things is, hey, it's not the student's fault. They want to be online.
Right.
They want to be in person. They want to be on a normal campus, and that's what they're paying for.
Right.
The other side of the coin is, well, it's not really ASU's fault either.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like
ASU invented the pandemic, as far as we know.
Right. It's not like ASU wants to. We like to have students
exactly
on campus. We want students around. So then it's where in the middle of all of that. If you told ASU that everything else would stay the same, they would try and figure out a way to give the instruction in a way that they could give some money back to the students.
Okay.
But what's going to happen, I suspect, is that they're going to do this type of instruction and the state is going to take a huge hit and they're going to cut the budget of ASU by 50 to 100 million bucks.
Wow. Okay.
And then it's not even, I don't think, possible to do something like that that scenario. I mean, I guess you could fire a bunch of people and all that, but the second like a vaccine comes out, you got to hire all those people right back. I mean,
exactly.
It's really tough. This is going to be, the lawyers are going to win. There's going to be a ton of lawsuits about. There already is a lawsuit
everywhere.
About this.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So the House always wins, and the attorneys will always get paid.
Right. Now, I think the superior, best way is probably a combination of using the technology and in class.
Okay.
I think that's probably, especially for JD education, I think that's probably still currently where we're at.
Okay.
But I'm not sure that's true for every discipline. I think some discipline, to me, it's almost as much of your learning style as it is
Yes,
the ability to have quality instruction.
I agree. Yeah, because my kids all gravitated. They absolutely did so well with distance learning. I mean, they
Right.
actually did very well that way. However, my godson absolutely hates it, and he can't.
Right.
He can't even. He has to be in person. So to your point, right?
Right.
It's just like you have to have all of that available to them in some
Right.
form
And
or
then if
another.
it's really you, it's your peculiarities, your particular uh, preference,
Right.
then why should ASU pay for it?
Okay, got it. Absolutely. Right, because you can't be on the hook for something
that?
else you're taking into account. Absolutely.
That was good lawyering right there.
You turned it around.
I did.
Let's see. We got another one in here. Cronkite has a bureau in DC. Is there an LA? Is that an extension of Cronkite, or do we know what it's fully going to be used for?
I'd be shocked if Cronkite doesn't have a something there. I know we're planning on having something there. What
Okay.
that something is, I don't know. We have a whole program called International Rule of Law and Security run out of the DC office that's taught by
Okay.
a former ambassador for war crimes. So he's in the
Interesting.
DC office, and we have faculty there and everything. So, I could see LA certainly turn into what we've done in DC, where
Right.
we now own a building in DC. There is an ASU building
Wow.
in DC. It's actually really cool.
It's in okay, so near. I'm gonna have to look it up exactly where it's at, because now
Yeah.
it's the second. Then technically, LA is a second building outside of Arizona that ASU owns.
Correct. And we already have the Santa Monica Center.
Okay.
We've had something there for a while, but it's a lot more offices and things and not classroom type space. Where I
Right.
think this
Exactly.
new building is going to be much more educational use.
I'm excited to see. Now, how far away is that from coming up? Going
I think
online, if
I
you
think
will.
it's 2 years
Okay.
away. They had to gut this entire building, and it's a historical building, and so there's all kinds of things they have to do.
Got it.
But everyone says it's going to be amazing when it's done.
Oh, I can only imagine the bones are amazing, but they had to go ahead and dig all kinds of, because it was built, in the early 1900s, I guess. So, they have to upgrade the heck out of it, but still.
Yeah, and it was a newspaper facility. They printed newspapers.
Right.
There.
So get rid of all that heavy equipment down in the basement as well. Yep. Can ASU not attract other students from other schools for online education, lower tuition, more students? I think that's part of the drive, right? I think that's why you're always hearing. I mean, I remember when I was traveling a lot, especially here in the Bay Area, and I had Sirius XM, I was always hearing ads for ASU online. I remember traveling to Texas. I was in New York. I was down in Florida. It was always some sort of ad for ASU online everywhere. So I think it's just really extending that reach of saying, look, you can get a high quality 4-year degree fully online at ASU Online. Give us a shot. And I think, to your point, Joe, I think that's really what we're doing. And then that really makes it a reality even with Starbucks partnership. That even expands it even more, right? I mean, that's what I tell all the parents. So I do a lot of high school youth groups with my church, and I tell every single one of them, you go to Starbucks, work at Starbucks for 20 hours a week, and you're going to get a free degree at ASU. And they're like, they like, again, like your counterparts, their head explodes because they never knew, and then they research it and they jump into it. I mean, it was just, why wouldn't
and
you take advantage of
Uber
that?
now too.
They're partnered with ASU as well.
Uber. Yep.
Wow.
So, I mean, to answer Joe's question, it's sure, except it's really hard. It's not really a price. Once the initial decision is made, the initial decision to what school you go to might be a price decision. But once you're in it, unless tuition just goes way up for you, it's no longer a price consideration. There's a whole lot of switching costs with switching universities about what classes will be accepted, what won't.
Okay.
All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to be like a price thing for most students. For example, they're at UCLA going in the traditional program, and now they say, oh, look, I can do ASU online so much less expensively. It's once I'm a ground student, I'm a ground student.
Okay.
Life things might change to where I need to go to an online program, but it's not at that point. It's not really a steal from other places. The students have already started there. It's, do you compete on price initially, and then once they're with you, like I said, the switching costs are so high that it's not like junior college to a 4-year university where they've built an entire system around making that smooth.
It's almost like you said, you're not changing apartments, you're actually buying a house.
Right. Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, it's a complete different approach, so that's fair. You got it. Look at that. 2.5 hours is done in a blink, man. I love these, especially everything that you've shared about ASU, you know, your insights as well, and everything else. But what are your plans for the remainder of the year? Like, you know, anything to plug, anything that you're got going or you're considering or thinking about doing in the coming months?
Not really, man. I have no idea what the hell's going to happen. I'm just going to kind of play it by ear. But I would like to plug a couple things.
Please.
One is the Arizona Legal Center.
Okay.
It's a free legal triage. So basically, you have a legal problem or you think you have a legal problem, you can go there, talk to lawyers and law students guided by lawyers, and get free legal triage. If they can help you, they will. If they can farm you out, if they have to farm you out, they will for
Okay.
a little bit lower rate. So it's a great place. If you think you have a legal issue, go there. I think the only other thing I'd like to plug, and I think if Ralph's still on, he'll enjoy this. ATL Wings. You got to, if you're in Arizona, you got to go to ATL Wings. Keep this place open during this pandemic.
Tell me more about them, because I do not know.
So ATL Wings is a wing place, obviously. All they really do is wings.
Okay.
But it's locally owned, it's minority owned, and
Okay.
they are seriously, it has, in my affinity for them, I think that adds to it, but it's really, the wings are amazing.
Okay.
They have they have this rub type, like almost like an oil-based rub that they use that
Okay.
is unbelievable. And there used to be one right by my house.
Okay.
And then they closed down for some reason, having to do with the franchisee went rogue.
Blast.
But that is a place that, if you could please help me keep them open, fellow Phoenicians, during this pandemic, I would really appreciate it.
Where are they located at?
They've got a few different ones. They've got one like in South Tempe. They've got one in Chandler. They've got one up in Old Town Scottsdale.
Okay.
At like 36th Street and Thomas.
Okay.
And then some on the west side too. They've got a few locations all over, and they're opening a few more here and there. But yeah, if you haven't been, go to ATL Wings.
ATL Wings. So I'm going to definitely add that when I come back and visit. So whenever that may be. So hopefully I'll get to enjoy those as well. But I can't thank you enough. It just, again, this has been exciting. I know you were one of the first people I reached out to. So I am grateful that you were able to be part of the best damn social club in the universe.
That's right. It's been great.
That's right. Good. I appreciate it. And shout out to everyone for being out there on the chat. So again, real quick for everyone, Paul, Justin, Bo, Stacy, and Maurice, please shoot me an email, JediASU@gmail.com. Please send me your name and your phone number, and I will get you that $5 gift certificate to Cactus Sports. We'll put you in contact with Troy, and we will be able to do that. So yes, really excited about it. I'm going to have to look them up and see what ATL Wings is all about online, so I know what to do when I go back and order, and I'm not some novice nincompoop holding up the line.
I got you, Rob. You know my number. I will consult or buy whatever.
Exactly.
You need for that.
That's actually one of the things too that I was going to do. I'm actually looking to do something from a copyright or trademarking thing. So I wasn't sure if LegalZoom was a way to go, but I'll bug you.
Just bug me.
Yeah,
no
I'll
problem.
bug you offline and figure that one out. But really appreciate everyone. Thank you for the patience, especially around the technical difficulties. But it looks like it didn't affect the stream, so we're really excited to see how that turns out. Again, have a great week. As always, if there's any topics, or even if you wanted to go ahead and join the social club, let me know. Shoot me an email, shoot me a text, or even a message on the video itself, so we will make that one happen. But love you, Eric. Love your family. Thank you so much for everything. Love everyone that attended. Make sure you love yourself and love all of those around you. And as always, until next time, make sure that you remain social. Good night, everyone. Go Devils and Forks Up, and we will talk